The scene shifts to Jin Woo's apartment where he is suddenly jolted awake by the shrill ringing of his phone. It's his younger sister Gina calling to scold him for still being in bed at such a late hour. Her tone is sharp as she reminds him about the parent-teacher conference he promised to attend. Groggy but now fully alert, Jin Woo is surprised to realize the time. He quickly gets ready and makes his way to the school. Upon arriving on time, Gina is visibly taken aback by her brother's appearance. Unlike his usual casual look, he's dressed neatly and stylishly, exuding an air of professionalism. Jin Woo explains with a smile that he wanted to make a good impression when meeting her teacher. As they walk through the school, students can't help but notice him. Heads turn and whispers spread. Many students mistake him for a model, captivated by his confident demeanor and polished attire. In the consultation room, Jin Woo is invited inside by one of the teachers. The discussion begins with the teacher praising Gina's academic performance. She mentions that Gina plans to pursue health sciences after graduation and that her grades are more than sufficient to achieve this goal. However, the conversation takes a more serious turn when the teacher raises a delicate question. She asks if Jin Woo would be okay with Gina becoming a hunter if she ever awakened. Without hesitation, Jin Woo firmly responds, "No," the teacher nods, sensing his concern, but before ending the meeting, she politely makes a request. She asks Jin Woo for a favor. In the afternoon, Jin Woo meets Songi. Songi asks what Jin Woo is doing here. Jin Woo says he is Gina's brother and was asked by her teacher to advise her. Songi says she doesn't care what her teacher said. She doesn't want to go back to school and will stay a hunter. Then Jin Woo gives her advice. She's an E rank right now. It's not a profitable business just because you made some money from our raid team enough. She lectures him for being also an E rank. Jin Woo realized this girl was just as stubborn, telling her he's not there to persuade, and they go on their way. Elsewhere, we see Jinchul welcoming Wang Dong-soo to Japan, and Dong-soo is surprised to see that the chief of the Hunter Association himself is here to greet him. Jinchul gets straight to the point, asking him how long he is going to stay here, and Dong-soo tells him not to worry since he is not going to be here for long. Jinchul is surprised that Dong-soo chose to return to the country that he betrayed just to meet those two people. And Dong-soo is sure that Jinchul is aware that he is not just here to see the two of them. He mentions that the guys in the surveillance team should just pretend to ignore whatever he does to those two in a dungeon, and he reveals his intentions to first take care of Jin Woo and then Jinho. He is confident that Jinchul won't be able to stop him with his poor abilities, and Jinchul states that he is just doing his duty. Elsewhere, a monster is being unloaded from the helicopter that Guildmaster Choi and his team used to reach Jeju Island. Choi briefs the chairman of the Hunter Association on the situation, explaining that the monsters were attempting to cross the sea to the mainland. However, their inability to sustain flight for long caused them to fall into the ocean. He warns that if left unchecked, the monsters will eventually find a way to cross. Gun-hee assures Choi that he will do whatever it takes to prevent this from happening. The scene shifts to Jin Woo meeting Sangmin. Sangmin, slightly surprised, remarks, "I didn't expect a call from you." Noticing Song Yi accompanying him, he adds, "And you brought company too." Jin Woo apologizes for the abrupt request, but Sangmin brushes it off, curious about Jin Woo's interest in observing their training session. Pointing toward the gate nearby, Sangmin explains, "This is a level C gate. It appeared not too long ago." Their conversation is interrupted by an impatient voice. A man, clearly irritated, declares, "We're not here for sightseeing. Let's start the raid already." Jin Woo glances at him, curious. Sangmin introduces the man as Kim Chul, a rank A hunter and tanker. Jin Woo silently takes note, intrigued by the new player in the scene. Sangmin declares himself the leader of the assault team, clearly annoyed by the presence of rankers observing his raid. Kim Chul shares his frustration, visibly displeased at being tasked with overseeing them. As they prepare for the raid, Sangmin gives Jin Woo a breakdown of the team. 1 rank A hunter, 5 rank Bs and 2 rank Cs, making 10 participants in total, including Jin Woo and Song Yi. Jin Woo frowns at the size of the group. He had brought Song Yi along to show her how challenging dungeon raids can be, but with such a large team it might not have the intended impact. Sensing his hesitation, Sangmin's assistant advises him to stay on the sidelines and let the newcomers handle the fighting. Jin Woo nods in understanding, deciding to observe for now. The group proceeds through the gate. As they step inside, Jin Woo immediately feels that something is off. The atmosphere is unsettling. Suddenly, they all notice the gate behind them beginning to shift, its color turning a sinister red. Jin Woo's expression hardens as he realizes the situation. They've walked into a trap. Reacting swiftly, Jin Woo makes a desperate attempt to escape. He pushes toward the gate, barely managing to get his head through. "Sangmin, contact the assault team," he shouts. Before Sangmin can react, the gate pulls Jin Woo back inside, slamming shut behind him. The dungeon has locked them in. Sangmin urgently contacts Yunho, informing him about the unexpected appearance of a red gate. Alarmed by the news, Yunho immediately sets out to reach their location. Meanwhile, Jin Woo and the group regain consciousness, finding themselves surrounded by an endless snowfield. Confusion spreads as they realize the gate has vanished. Panic begins to set in as they wonder how they're supposed to escape. Kim Chul steps forward, calmly stating the obvious. This is a red gate. His words spark confusion in Song Yi, who asks what that means. Jin Woo explains, his tone serious. Unlike regular gates, a red gate completely cuts them off from the outside world. There's no rescue coming. To leave, they must defeat the dungeon boss or wait until the dungeon collapses on its own. He warns that the inside of a red gate is teeming with dangerous magic beasts and survival is far from guaranteed. Before anyone can process the situation further, a volley of arrows suddenly rains down on them. One of the team members falls instantly, killed on the spot. As another arrow flies straight towards Song Yi, Jin Woo reacts swiftly, catching it midair before it can harm her. A woman in the group gasps at his speed, clearly impressed. But before they can regroup, they realize they are surrounded. Shadowy figures emerge in the distance, bows drawn. Jin Woo narrows his eyes, quickly assessing the situation. The enemies had stayed far enough away to avoid detection, which explains why he hadn't sensed them earlier. Jin Woo quickly assesses the situation. It's clear that the attackers had deliberately targeted the weakest members of their group. He reflects for a moment. If this had happened 2 months ago, he would likely be dead. The elves retreat into the snow, disappearing from sight. Song Yi looks bewildered, prompting Jin Woo to explain that these creatures are ice elves, known for their ruthless nature. Hunters have nicknamed them Ice Slayers for a reason. Kim Chul steps forward, addressing the group with a commanding voice. He makes it clear that they're on their own, no outside help is coming. If anyone wants to survive, they must follow his lead. However, Kim Chul is blunt about the harsh reality. I can't protect everyone, he says, announcing that they will split into 2 groups. His reasoning, smaller teams have a better chance of surviving in this freezing wasteland. He warns that staying in one place will only result in them freezing to death. The group seems eager to follow him, but Kim Chul singles out the weaker ones, including Jin Woo and Song Yi, coldly stating that they cannot join him. He explains that time moves differently in this dungeon. 1 day inside equals an hour outside. It could take them months to either defeat the dungeon boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse. With a stern expression, Kim Chul declares that he will leave the weaker ones behind. He'll come back for you once the boss is taken care of, he says, but his tone leaves little room for trust. Jin Woo watches silently, observing the true nature of the man before him. The young woman in the group decides to follow Jin Woo instead of Kim Chul. Her decision catches Kim Chul off guard, and he finds her choice foolish. However, the woman has her reasons. She whispers to Jin Woo, observing his swift reaction to the earlier attack. She doubts he's really an E-rank hunter, suggesting he might be a rank, or even higher. Kim Chul declares that his group will take the main road. Jin Woo, unfazed, suggests that his party head toward the forest instead. As Kim Chul's group marches forward, they soon notice deep claw marks etched into the trees. Kim Chul recognizes the sign immediately. They've entered the territory of the ice bear, a deadly predator. Confident in his strength, Kim Chul smirks. Assuming the weaker party heading into the forest will be slaughtered, moments later, his team finds themselves surrounded by the massive creatures. An ice bear charges at them, but Kim Chul swiftly blocks the attack with his shield before splitting the beast in half with his axe. Without hesitation, he moves to engage the remaining 2 bears. Meanwhile, in the forest, the woman halts Jin Woo's group, pointing out the deep scratches along the tree trunks. "Did none of you notice these?" she asks, concerned. Her words leave the group tense as they realize they're in dangerous territory. The woman warns the group that they are entering the territory of the ice bear, advising them to turn back before they come face to face with the dangerous creatures. However, Jin Woo suggests they press forward. He reasons that if this is indeed ice bear territory, their only concern would be the bears themselves, which he believes are weaker than the elves. The girl realizes that no other magical beasts will venture into this area due to the dominance of the ice bears. As the temperature drops, Jin Woo senses the chill and pulls out coats from his inventory, handing them to the group. Everyone is astonished to see him use subspace magic. Once they wear the coats, they find them surprisingly warm and comfortable. Song Yi, still curious, asks Jin Woo who he truly is. He reassures her, saying that he'll protect her since he was the one who brought her here. He also requests that she refrain from asking further questions, hoping the rest of the group will respect his wishes as well. An ice bear suddenly appears, prompting Jin Woo to switch his title to Wolf Assassin as he prepares to engage the creature in battle. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Yunho is concerned about the situation. He believes that only high-ranking hunters will survive this ordeal and places his hopes on Kim Chul. Sangmin informs him that in addition to the assault team, others have entered the gate as well. Among them is Jin Woo, and Yunho wonders about his rank. Sangmin mentions that Jin Woo is an E rank, though he suspects that he may have reawakened. However, Sangmin is uncertain, as Jin Woo has never confirmed this. Yunho remains skeptical. Just then, Dong Su arrives with Jin Chul. Yunho, clearly displeased, asks why Dong Su is here when he was supposed to be in America. Dong Su, unbothered, avoids answering Yunho's question and instead asks why an E-rank hunter like Jin Woo was allowed to enter the gate, especially when he isn't even part of Yunho's guild. He specifically refers to Jin Woo, which causes Yunho to wonder how Dong Su knows him. Dong Su is visibly disappointed by the sight of the red gate before him, fearing that he may never get the chance to meet Jin Woo as the latter is most likely going to perish inside. Meanwhile, Jinchul feels that Jin Woo is fortunate as he won't have to confront Dong Su being trapped inside the red gate. However, he remains uncertain whether Jin Woo will survive the ordeal. Back inside the gate, Jin Woo has successfully defeated the last of the ice bears and levels up in the process. The girl in the group wonders about his true identity, but he remains silent. Later, as the group shares a meal of bear meat, they express their astonishment at Jin Woo's ability to take down all of the bears on his own. The girl remains cautious, suspecting that the monster's lair must be nearby. Song Yi, perplexed, wonders why Jin Woo has decided to go for a run after dinner, despite having just fought several monsters. She finds him to be quite an unusual person, and the others share her thoughts. Outside the lair of the ice bears, Jin Woo summons his shadow army for a test. The army engages the bears and swiftly dispatches them, though some bears manage to tear through the ranks of the shadow army. Despite the damage, Jin Woo's army regenerates rapidly by drawing on his mana. The mages provide support, and Jin Woo reflects that the army has exceeded his expectations, though they consume a significant amount of mana. Suddenly, the Ice Bear boss appears, effortlessly destroying the entire shadow army in a single attack. The powerful strike depletes Jin Woo's mana reserves, leaving him unable to regenerate the army. In response, Jin Woo sends out Igris. The bear attacks, but Igris dodges and retaliates, quickly slicing the bear and bringing it to its knees within seconds. The beast continues to lunge at Jin Woo, but he swiftly beheads it before it can strike. Observing the swift defeat, Jin Woo reflects that had he used his sword during their previous encounter, he would have certainly lost to Igris. Even at his current level, Igris might still be stronger than him. Jin Woo praises Igris for a job well done. The scene shifts to Kim Chul's party engaged in battle with the elves. It's clear that everyone except Kim Chul has fallen. Stunned, he struggles to comprehend the situation. He had been on the verge of joining the elite ranks of the White Tiger Guild, but now, faced with the elves and the last member of his party, fear takes hold. In a panic, he flees. Elsewhere, Jin Woo demonstrates his exceptional abilities by successfully incorporating the fallen ice bears into his army. The feat of awakening every single one fills him with exhilaration. Meanwhile, in the outside world, 3 hours have elapsed since the gate first opened, although 3 days have already passed within it. Dong Su speculates that Sung Jin Woo might have perished attempting to exit the gate. However, he recalls that Jin Woo isn't an official member of the White Tiger Guild, which leaves him pondering Jin Woo's purpose inside. Sangmin steps in to clarify, revealing that Jin Woo is a close acquaintance of his and had shown interest in tackling an A-rank quest, which led him to grant Jin Woo access. Though somewhat placated by this explanation, Dong Su moves on while Sangmin breathes a sigh of relief, yet the reprieve is short-lived, as Dong Su abruptly seizes him by the throat, demanding to know the true intent behind his actions. Yunho cannot remain silent upon witnessing the scene. He swiftly seizes Dong Su's hand, urging him to release his grip, which sparks a heated disagreement between them. Both unleash their formidable powers, and Sangmin, realizing the potential consequences, fears the disastrous outcome of a confrontation between two S-rank hunters. The air crackles with intensity as they exchange powerful blows, generating a massive energy explosion. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Kim Chul trembles from the biting cold. He reflects that he would not have been defeated had he possessed the proper gear to withstand such frigid conditions. As he moves forward, he stumbles upon the lifeless bodies of the ice bears that Jin Woo had slain. His eyes widen in surprise, pondering whether an A-rank party could be responsible for the carnage. However, he dismisses the idea, certain that they lacked the strength to accomplish such a feat. The conclusion is inevitable. It must have been the work of the I-rank. Without a second thought, he flees the scene. Inside the gate, the members of Jin Woo's party are leisurely sipping coffee and relaxing. Kim Chul observes them from a distance, astonished to find they are still alive. He notices their clothing and tents, and an angered realization dawns on him. He lost because they refused to share any of their supplies with him. Fuming, he storms toward them, accusing them of hoarding all the food and equipment, which led to the annihilation of the assault team. The party members are visibly shaken by his fury. Kim Chul, his thoughts turning bitter, concludes that Heejin must have been aware of this, and that was why he had joined Jin Woo's team in the first place. With a menacing tone, he demands they confess, giving them a countdown to comply, 3 seconds before he takes their lives. Jin Woo's party braces themselves for a confrontation, and as the final count approaches, Jin Woo decisively intervenes, sending Kim Chul hurtling across the snowfield with a single powerful strike. Kim Chul is in disbelief, unable to fathom that Jin Woo not only caused the deaths of his teammates but has now brought further trouble upon them. Jin Woo, however, remains composed and calls out to the ice elves hidden in the area, aware of their presence. At his command, they deactivate their camouflage and reveal themselves. The others, alarmed by the sight of such a large group, feel overwhelmed by their apparent disadvantage in numbers. Upon spotting the ice elf mounted on a horse, Jin Woo quickly deduces that this must be the leader of the dungeon. The ice elf leader then remarks that there appears to be someone of value among the humans, and to everyone's astonishment, Jin Woo is able to understand his words. Surprised by his own comprehension, Jin Woo ponders the reason behind it, speculating that it may be due to his status as a player. The leader of the elves, intrigued by the unfolding events, remarks that this is ideal, as one of his subordinates had been eager to challenge Jin Woo. Without hesitation, Jin Woo swiftly defeats him, urging the leader to continue. Amused, the leader accepts, and the two engage in combat, their blades clashing with intensity. Jin Woo manages to unseat the elf leader's horse, realizing that this battle is likely to be prolonged. The leader, now more intrigued, observes Jin Woo closely, but remains certain that he is not truly human. He inquires as to why Jin Woo is among them, to which Jin Woo responds with confusion. The leader elaborates, explaining that whenever they encounter a human, they hear a voice urging them to kill. However, when facing Jin Woo, there is nothing, no voice, no command. Jin Woo ponders the situation, speculating that this could be related to the system commands, and considers that the elf leader may not hear anything when confronting him because, as a player, he is different. The elf leader then offers an ultimatum, suggesting that there is no need for further conflict. He demands the humans hiding behind Jin Woo, promising to spare him in exchange. Jin Woo, disinterested in the leader's proposition, demands to know who he is and why he is waging war against humans. The boss begins to explain their origins, but Jin Woo cannot hear a word of it. Perplexed by this, he dismisses the leader's offer, refusing it outright. The leader, undeterred, reminds him that he is outnumbered. In response, Jin Woo calmly summons his army, much to the astonishment of everyone present. Initially, the elves assume these are mere monsters, but upon closer inspection of their unusual appearance, they quickly realize that these creatures were summoned by Jin Woo himself. The leader, now assessing the situation, deems Jin Woo's efforts to be in vain and orders his forces to engage the summoned army. A fierce battle ensues, with Jin Woo's army cutting down some of the elves, while the elves retaliate fiercely, pushing back against the undead forces. Meanwhile, Heejin and the others begin to retreat, fully aware that this battle exceeds their capabilities. A few elves attempt to fire arrows at them, but Jin Woo effortlessly intercepts the projectiles, striking down the archers in an instant. Observing the battle's progress, he realizes that while his soldiers cannot be killed, they still require MP to function, and his own reserves are dwindling rapidly. He soon notices that the elf leader appears to be stronger than he is. As the boss launches an attack, Jin Woo manages to block it but contemplates that even with Igris by his side, defeating this opponent may be beyond his current strength. He recognizes the need for greater combat power, realizing that his regular soldiers are insufficient for this fight. The elf leader, introducing himself as Baruka, inquires about Jin Woo's name. Jin Woo responds in kind and the two engage in a fierce clash, their blades moving at an unprecedented speed. Baruka lands a powerful kick on Jin Woo, relishing the challenge. In retaliation, one of Jin Woo's mages casts a fireball, striking Baruka. At that moment, Kim Chul regains consciousness and, spotting Jin Woo in front of him, charges with reckless determination, intent on eliminating him. Simultaneously, Baruka shakes off the effects of the spell and also charges toward Jin Woo, intent on cornering him with a pincer attack. In response, Jin Woo summons Igris, who quickly conjures a smoke screen. Within the cover, Jin Woo swiftly dispatches Kim Chul, realizing too late that Jin Woo had anticipated his assault. Kim Chul's last moments are marked by Jin Woo extracting his soul, transforming him into one of his minions. Kim Chul's shadow then lurches forward, attacking Baruka and forcing him to retreat momentarily. Jin Woo, pleased with his new acquisition, names his newly revived minion Iron. Iron, utilizing his tanking abilities, draws Baruka's aggression toward himself. The two engage in a fierce exchange, Baruka believing that while Iron is formidable, he is also slow. Meanwhile, a group of hunters hidden in the forest watches in awe, questioning whether this is truly the way of combat for hunters. Overcome with doubt, they fear they can never hope to achieve such prowess. The grim reality is too much for them to bear, and they wish desperately that it is all a mere dream. Meanwhile, Baruka grows increasingly bored with his fight against Iron, dismissing him as no real challenge. He boldly challenges both Igris and Iron to face him simultaneously. The two immediately accept, charging at him with unrelenting force. They clash with their blades, neither side gaining a decisive advantage. Iron once again uses his tanking abilities to draw Baruka's attention, creating an opening. While Baruka is momentarily distracted by a blow from Iron, Jin Woo seizes the opportunity to strike with his knife. However, he quickly notices that Baruka skillfully avoids any lethal wounds. Baruka retreats, admonishing Jin Woo for underestimating him. Jin Woo responds, acknowledging Baruka's strength but pointing out that the same cannot be said for his soldiers. He observes that all of Baruka's forces have been eliminated. Baruka, realizing he is now outnumbered, charges at Jin Woo with unwavering confidence, convinced that defeating him will render the remaining forces irrelevant. Jin Woo hurls his dagger at Baruka, who scoffs at the apparent foolishness of Jin Woo for discarding his weapon. However, Jin Woo utilizes his ruler's hand skill to strike Baruka from behind, shattering one of his daggers. In a sudden turn of events, Iron seizes Baruka by surprise, restraining him, while the mages barrage him with a series of fireball spells. Despite the onslaught, Baruka remains standing, undeterred. In response, Jin Woo drives his knife deep into Baruka's body, revealing that he had been employing his stealth skill all along. Baruka, still resolute, refuses to accept defeat, believing the battle is not yet over. Iron, however, delivers the final blow with a powerful strike from his hammer, toppling Baruka and bringing the fight to an end. Jin Woo, victorious, levels up twice. Jin Woo notices that Iron continues to strike Baruka's lifeless body, and he swiftly intervenes, cautioning him not to go too far. Concerned about his future, Jin Woo realizes that Iron has already become an outcast within the Shadow Army. Afterward, Jin Woo informs the remaining hunters that the battle is over, and the portal to the outside world materializes. He suggests that it is time to leave, much to the relief and satisfaction of everyone present. However, before they depart, Jin Woo makes an attempt to recruit Baruka into his Shadow Army. Meanwhile, outside the gate, 7 hours have passed, and the observers are surprised that the gate remains uncleared after a week. Sangmin instructs Yunho to return to the guild and rest, but Yunho insists on waiting, determined to stay until the members of his guild emerge. At that moment, the gate reacts, and 2 figures emerge from within. It's the 2 members of his guild, followed shortly by Jin Woo and Sanji. As the gate closes, Yunho wonders about the whereabouts of the other hunters. He soon discovers the grim truth that they are all dead, his shock intensifying upon realizing that only low-level hunters have survived. Jin Woo attempts to leave with Sanji, but Yunho halts him, requesting a word. Irritated, Jin Woo tells Yunho to ask his guild members for any answers he seeks. Yunho, enraged, retorts that 6 members of his guild perished and demands an explanation. Jin Woo stands firm, meeting his glare and responding coldly that Yunho should be thanking him instead, as he saved 2 of his guildmates. Yunho, begrudgingly acknowledging this, takes a moment to collect himself and thanks Jin Woo, allowing him to leave. As Jin Woo walks away, he asks Heejin why Jin Woo seems upset. She surmises that he is simply in a foul mood after the battle with the boss, likely fatigued. Yunho, reflecting on the exchange, instructs Songmin to ensure that Jin Woo is brought into their guild. Later, we find Jin Woo dropping Sanji off at her apartment. She thanks him casually, addressing him informally, which catches him off guard. She then enters her apartment, leaving Jin Woo to head back to his own home. As he drives, he reflects on the mission, noting that all he gained from it was the knife. He reveals to himself that he was unable to awaken Baruka due to the vast disparity in their strengths, feeling that his efforts had been in vain. The following morning, while washing up at his house, Jin Woo muses that this was the 3rd time he had taken a life. He then heads out to have breakfast with Gina. On his way, he encounters Ganhan, who suggests they head out together. Along the way, they stop to pick up Sanji. Once again, Sanji refers to Jin Woo in a casual manner, which surprises Ganhan. They chat about their recent quest, and Ganhan, misunderstanding their closeness, assumes that Jin Woo and Sanji must have spent the night together, especially since they are sitting so close. He awkwardly informs Jin Woo that Sanji is still underage. Jin Woo, however, sees no issue with this, unintentionally deepening the misunderstanding. The scene shifts to Jin Woo's Shadow Army efficiently dispatching monsters within a dungeon. Jinho, visibly astonished, asks Jin Woo to explain what is happening. Jin Woo, recalling that this is the first time he's revealed this ability to Jinho, calmly explains that it's one of his unique skills. Jinho, still puzzled, inquires further. Jin Woo admits that the explanation is somewhat complex, but once the monsters are eliminated, his soldiers begin mining mana crystals. Observing the scene, Jinho is left in disbelief, realizing there seems to be no task for him to contribute. Meanwhile, in a different dungeon, a group of hunters appears wary of one of their own, whom they perceive as a monstrous figure. The hunter attempts to communicate, but the language barrier hinders their understanding. Though his grasp of English is limited, he manages to convey that he is human and simply wishes to return home. The scene transitions to Jinho and Jin Woo celebrating the completion of their 19 quests as originally planned. Jin Woo turns to Jinho and inquires about his next move. Jinho responds that he intends to take the written exam at the association and earn his guildmaster license. He reveals that he plans to use the license as leverage in negotiations with his father. turning the question back on Jin Woo, he asks what his plans are. Jin Woo replies that he must travel somewhere, suggesting that Jinho may not be able to reach him for a while. Jinho, misinterpreting his words, assumes Jin Woo is simply trying to distance himself, thinking he finds him bothersome. He declares that he won't trouble Jin Woo anymore if that's the case, prompting Jin Woo to wonder if Jinho is intoxicated. Jinho then opens up, explaining that his older brother, who is 10 years his senior, has never shown any affection for him. They've never truly spent time together as brothers. In contrast, Jin Woo had saved his life and even honored his request. Jinho wistfully admits that he wishes Jin Woo were his older brother instead. In response, Jin Woo pours him a glass of beer, proposing a toast and declaring, "From now on, you're my younger brother." Jinho, elated by this gesture, beams, and they both raise their glasses in celebration. Elsewhere, the man from earlier is confined within a prison cell, with guards stationed outside discussing his situation. One of the guards mentions that the man is claiming to be a foreign hunter, asserting that he had been trapped in a gate 10 years ago. He later found himself within a gate that led to the United States. The guards are intrigued, considering this event to be unprecedented. One guard turns to the other, asking if any additional information has been uncovered. The second guard replies that the man struggles with English, so this is all they have been able to ascertain. He adds that an interpreter will be required for further investigation, though they cannot yet dismiss the possibility that he might be a humanoid beast. They deliberate on how to proceed, and one guard reveals that they have already requested assistance from an S-rank hunter, who is the man's compatriot. We learn that they have requested Wang Dong-Su for the task, and he is currently en route. The guards are confident that the investigation will proceed smoothly once Dong-Su arrives. They mention that the hunter's name is Sung Il-Wan. Meanwhile, Jin Woo is preparing to leave his house, informing his sister that he will be away on a trip for the next week. Gina remarks that he has been quite busy lately, having just returned from work. Jin Woo explains that he has numerous things to take care of. Gina teasingly asks who he is going with, and Jin Woo responds that it's just a friend. However, she playfully suggests that he must have a girlfriend, joking with him as he heads out. Later, we find Jin Woo inside the instant dungeon he visited earlier. Reflecting on his past battle with the Cerberus, he recalls that his level was around 20 at the time. Now, however, his strength has tripled, and he feels confident that he can handle anything that comes his way. He opens the gate to the demon castle and receives a new quest. Upon entering, he discovers that the castle is teeming with demons, and the quest requires him to collect 10,000 demon souls. As he descends to the first floor of the dungeon, he encounters a swarm of demons. Undeterred, Jin Woo thinks to himself that no matter how many monsters they throw at him, his goal is the elixir of life, and he won't leave without it. He steels himself for the impending battle. The scene shifts to Jinho requesting his father hand over the guild he plans to establish, presenting his guildmaster license as proof. His father, taken aback, expresses surprise at this request, especially given his awareness of his brother's plans. Jinho explains that appointing an outsider as the guildmaster would be far too risky. Changing the subject, his father brings up Jin Woo, mentioning that he has heard the hunter's name mentioned in connection with several recent high-profile raids. It all began with the double dungeon, followed by the incident with Hang Dong-suk, and later the Supervision Department's execution of prisoners. In each of these events, Jin Woo emerged unscathed. His father continues, noting that Jin Woo participated in every raid Jinho organized. During the Red Gate incident involving the Wild Tiger Guild a few days ago, it is said that Jin Woo was the one responsible for rescuing the survivors. His father is certain that Jinho secured the Guildmaster license with Jin Woo's assistance, and he expresses astonishment that Jinho still expects him to hand over the guild. Undeterred, Jinho boldly insists that his father proceed with the transfer. To his surprise, his father agrees, but only on the condition that Jinho convinces Jin Woo to join his guild before the Wild Tiger Guild can recruit him. Meanwhile, within the demon castle, Jin Woo has defeated all the demons surrounding him, yet for some inexplicable reason, he is unable to convert them into his shadow soldiers. He finds this unfortunate, as there are numerous demons in the area. He acquires an item called the Entry Permit, which grants him access to the second floor of the dungeon. Upon inspecting it, he realizes he must reach the magic circle to use the permit. Considering the distance, he decides it would be a hassle to walk there, so he summons his Shadow Ice Bear boss to carry him. As they attempt to make their way out, a group of demons obstructs their path, but the Ice Bear charges through, effortlessly annihilating them as it moves forward. Impressed by its power, Jin Woo decides to dub the bear Tank. The scene shifts to a gym within the Hunter Guild. Hei-in emerges from the pool after a lengthy swim, her stunning beauty captivating everyone around her. Hei-in appears lost in thought, recalling her earlier conversation with Guildmaster Choi. She had questioned him about why he was withholding information regarding the winged ants, sharing it only with a select few rather than the public. Choi had explained that these were orders he received from the association, who believed that revealing such information prematurely would only incite unnecessary panic. He reassured her, telling her not to worry, and emphasized that their current priority was to strengthen their forces and grow the guild into the largest in the country to prepare for the impending threat. Meanwhile, within the demon castle, Jin Woo continues to defeat more demons, reflecting that he had expected this dungeon to be more challenging when he received its key. However, the demons here appear to be no more than B rank. He acquires another entry permit and makes his way to the 7th floor, where he swiftly slays the demons. Thinking that numbers are the only advantage these creatures possess, he realizes that as long as he focuses on eliminating the beasts with the permit scrolls, he can ascend effortlessly. As he fights, his ruler's hand skill levels up. Later, he takes a brief food break, contemplating that this tower likely has around 100 floors. He resumes his battles, wondering just how powerful he will become once he completes the entire dungeon, all the while continuing to collect the souls of the demons he defeats. After another break, he notes with concern that his supplies won't last much longer if he continues at this pace. He decides to accelerate his progress, quickly moving from one floor to the next. After an intense series of battles, he finally manages to collect the required 10,000 demon souls. At this point, he has ascended to the 50th floor, where he encounters a formidable army of demons. At the forefront stands Avaricious Vulcan, the lord of the lower floors, whose name is displayed in red, signaling him as a significant threat. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Sangmin is seated in his car, parked outside Jin Woo's apartment. His female associate arrives and informs him that Jin Woo is not currently at home. According to his sister, Jin Woo has gone on a trip, and even she is unaware of his destination. She expresses disappointment, believing their efforts have been in vain. However, Sangmin, noting that there are no records of Jin Woo crossing the border, is certain that he must still be within the country. The problem is that he hasn't taken on any raid missions recently. He recalls that Jin Woo's last known location was the heart of the urban area. The lady, curious, asks how he even knows this. He responds that it's simply part of his job, and he wonders where Jin Woo could be at this very moment. Back in the demon castle, Jin Woo commands his shadow army to deal with the lesser demons while he focuses on the boss. The shadow army engages the grunts, with Igris effortlessly cutting through the monsters. Jin Woo reflects that by boosting his intelligence, his mana capacity and efficiency have significantly increased, allowing him to use his shadow army more effectively. As he observes the boss remaining still, he contemplates whether he should make the first move. Just as he's about to take action, the boss suddenly strikes, launching a swift attack on his army. Jin Woo, enraged, delivers a punch that sends the boss flying. Even he is taken aback by the sheer power of the blow, realizing that he may have overinvested in his strength. The boss then activates a skill similar to Cerberus's, enhancing its power, and charges at Jin Woo with renewed ferocity. However, Jin Woo summons the Iron Shield to protect himself. The boss relentlessly strikes, but Jin Woo's shield holds firm. Seizing an opportunity, he leaps toward the boss to retaliate, but the monster counterattacks, forcing Jin Woo to narrowly evade the blow, utilizing his enhanced Ruler's Hand skill. Jin Woo soon realizes that the monster is capable of anticipating his moves. Recognizing the need to restrict its mobility, he retreats, contemplating how best to proceed. His gaze lands on a ruined building nearby. Climbing to its summit, he positions himself out of the boss's reach and, with precision, slices the monster apart. After the defeat, he receives a fragment of the World Tree as a drop item. Elsewhere, Dong Su has arrived to investigate Ilwan. He remarks that this is his first encounter with a humanoid magic beast, to which Ilwan clarifies that Ilwan is in fact human. Dong Su, irritated, instructs him to be silent unless he has a direct question, but Ilwan refuses, instead asking Dong Su how much humans truly know about the gates and magic beasts. Dong Su, perplexed, responds that dungeon gates and magic beasts are merely omens, and that the most catastrophic force has now finally awakened. Curious, Dong Su asks what he means by that, but Ilwan only hints that it is the worst disaster to ever befall them. His primary objective is to prevent this impending calamity. Dong Su, dismissing Elan's words as nonsense, retorts by asking if he even understands how many hunters there are in the world. Elan responds by saying that among the vast number of hunters, many will be powerless against this force and will ultimately be consumed. As he continues speaking, Dong Su reviews Ilwan's file and notices that he has a wife and 2 children. He then asks if Ilwan remembers the name of his son. He replies that his son is named Jin Woo. Upon hearing the name, Dong Su is consumed by a murderous aura, and with a chilling tone he declares that Ilwan's son is already dead. Channeling his energy, he ominously tells Ilwan that they will meet again in hell. Ilwan, not to be outdone, also unleashes his power in response. Meanwhile, in the demon castle, Jin Woo is engaged in a fight with another boss on the 75th floor. However, the battle proves to be incredibly one-sided as he approaches the boss and defeats it with a single strike. After defeating the boss, Jin Woo gains a few levels. Back at the American prison, the building where Dong Su and Il Won had been is now reduced to rubble. The guards discuss how this is the first time they've witnessed a battle between S-rank heroes. They express relief that Il Won managed to defeat Dong Su so swiftly, as the destruction would have been catastrophic otherwise. Back in the Demon Castle, Jin Woo finally runs out of food and realizes that this is the end of his journey for now. He assesses that since he is currently on the 75th floor, there are still 25 more to go. Checking his drop items, he feels satisfied with the rewards. He dons the necklace he obtained from the recent boss and the earring he claimed earlier. Upon combining them as part of his armor, he notices a significant boost. His stats increase by 5 points. Jin Woo observes that what piques his interest even more is the equipment window, which reveals that he requires an additional item to complete the set. He is confident that another boss-level monster must be lurking within this dungeon. He also mentions that he has obtained an avaricious glass, explaining that while it holds no value for him personally, it will double the power of his magic soldiers if he gives it to them. He then reveals that he has acquired the cursed random loot box from the quest to collect 10,000 demon souls. Opening the box, he finds a key inside, but there is no detailed information about it yet. The key will only reveal its purpose once he meets certain requirements. Jin Woo acknowledges that these rewards are substantial, but they aren't what he came here for. He shifts focus, stating that he now possesses the World Tree Fragment and the Echo Forest Water. With 2 of the 3 essential materials for the Elixir of Life in hand, he just needs 1 more to save his mother. He resolves to return next time to complete the collection. After stepping through the portal from which he had emerged, Jin Woo meticulously examines his inventory. Within it, he discovers 2 essential components required to craft the legendary Elixir of Life. Now, the only remaining ingredient is the purified blood of the Demon King. However, acquiring this rare item demands thorough preparation. Following his arduous expedition through the treacherous Demon Castle, Jin Woo has significantly enhanced his abilities, gaining several levels. Yet, despite his progress, he remains officially classified as an E-rank hunter, restricting him from undertaking missions of higher difficulty. Determined to overcome this limitation, Jin Woo resolves to have his rank re-evaluated the following day at the Hunter Association headquarters. Meanwhile, young Kitchell eagerly anticipates the day's assessments, curious about the talents that might emerge. His gaze lands on a man in a distinctive purple shirt among the candidates. Although the man appears to be an E rank on paper, Kitchell suspects he might secretly be a C rank. As Kitchell moves on to evaluate the next candidate, he is taken aback by an unexpected revelation. Shocked by what he sees, he hastily contacts Baek Yeonho, his superior, to inform him that Jin Woo is here and is about to undergo a rank reassessment. The startling news prompts Baek to rush to the scene without delay. Returning to the protagonist, he overhears a man in a purple shirt attempting to soothe another candidate's nerves, assuring him that, based on what he has heard, the assessment process is fairly straightforward. The other candidate, burdened by desperation, confesses that he urgently needs the earnings of a hunter to win back his wife and daughter, who have left him behind. The man in purple, with a calm demeanor, explains that as long as one achieves a rank of D or higher, the guild will extend an invitation, ensuring stability. He emphasizes that remaining at rank E makes it nearly impossible to earn a viable livelihood. Overhearing this conversation, Jin Woo finds it ironic that he himself remains at the lowest rank. A faint smile tugs at his lips as he reflects on his situation. Moments later, his name is called for re-evaluation, and he steps forward to place his hand on the black globe. The professional overseeing the procedure frowns as an error message unexpectedly appears on the system. Perplexed, she resets the process and tries again, only for the same issue to arise. Noticing the commotion, the director enters the room to inquire about the problem. When the employee points out the repeated error, he studies the readings carefully. His expression shifts as he realizes the truth. This is no mechanical malfunction. The machine simply cannot evaluate Jin Woo because his magical power surpasses its analytical limits. In other words, this young man is officially the 10th rank S hunter in the nation's history. Meanwhile, Choi inquires about the progress of the research on the flying ants. Jinchul responds that the department has conducted a detailed autopsy, comparing the internal structure and residual magical energy of the older specimen with the new one. However, he admits that drawing concrete conclusions will still require more time. Shifting topics, Choi brings up the Red Portal incident, mentioning that he heard the White Tiger Guild permitted a non-member to participate in the raid and even allowed him to defeat the boss. Intrigued, the master demands to know the identity of this individual. Jinchul explains that he was present on the last day of the incident, but didn't stay until the conclusion, so his knowledge of the details is limited. Choi remarks that it's unfortunate and notes the commotion in the hall. Jinchul assumes it's the Awakened being assessed but decides to investigate just to be certain. Before he leaves, the guildmaster, intrigued, expresses his curiosity and opts to accompany him. In the hall, disbelief ripples through the crowd as they witness a hunter who cannot be evaluated by the headquarters machine. As the startling news spreads, all eyes remain fixed on Jinwoo, who is engaged in conversation with the director. The director advises the young man to return in 3 days to retry the evaluation. Amidst the chaos, Kichul quietly reflects that everything is unfolding exactly as In had predicted. At that moment, Choi Jong-in enters the hall, his presence immediately commanding attention. According to Jinwoo, Choi is revered as the pinnacle of fire-type mages, bearing the prestigious title of the Supreme Hunter. Choi's sharp gaze lands on the young man, and he senses the overwhelming torrent of mana radiating from his body. With this realization, he concludes that Junwoo is indeed the cause of the uproar. Junwoo begins striding toward the Guild's association representative, who eagerly asks whether the young man has joined any clans and if they could discuss the matter further. However, Jinwoo, flustered, completely ignores the representative and hastily exits the scene in embarrassment. Watching this, Choi turns to Jinchul and inquires whether he had already informed Jinwoo of his identity. Jinchul confirms that he has, which leads Choi to suspect that Jinwoo might not be as remarkable as he initially appeared. At that moment, Beck arrives, breathless from running. Choi notices Beck's sudden entrance and realizes with astonishment that the president of the White Tiger Guild has personally shown up because of that young man. Choi quickly deduces that Jinwoo must have been the one responsible for conquering the Red Portal. Similarly, when Beck sees Master Choi pass by without saying a word, he immediately discerns that Choi has just uncovered the truth as well. At night, Jinwoo visits his mother in the hospital, sensing that she might awaken at any moment. Holding on to this hope, he speaks to her, asking her to wait just a little longer, even though she remains unconscious. Upon leaving the room, he finds Jinchul waiting for him. He remarks that the young man has made him realize how limited his own perspective had been. The surveillance team's duty is to observe hunters and discipline those who break the law. Typically, Jinchul trusts his own judgment, but now everything seems uncertain. Uninterested in the conversation, Jinwoo asks if he truly needs to be monitored. Jinchul replies that yes, he does, but not because he's a criminal. Surveillance is the only team equipped to handle incidents involving hunters. However, when it comes to a rank S, even they are powerless. With this in mind, Jinchul informs Jinwoo that someone wishes to meet him. At this, Jinwoo turns to see Go Ganhee emerging from the shadows, his face lit with a friendly smile. Introducing himself as the president of the Hunters Association, Go Ganhee begins by congratulating the young man for achieving rank S. He explains that when the machine encounters an error, it signifies that the hunter has reached the pinnacle of their abilities. Nonetheless, Go Ganhee requests that Jinwoo return in 3 days, emphasizing the importance of staying in touch with such a talented individual. He also notes that Ganhee's Hunter Association, while notable, cannot compete with the larger guilds in terms of payment or fame. For instance, Chief Jinchul is among their top hunters, yet he remains rank A. With this in mind, Go Ganhee gets straight to the point, offering Jinwoo a prominent position within the association. In today's world, a nation's greatest protectors are not the government but the hunters. This core group consists of the 5 largest guilds who are almost perpetually at odds with one another. Indeed, wherever Jinwoo decides to join, it will inevitably disrupt the balance of power among the major guilds. The association, in contrast, serves as the 6th power, tasked with keeping the 5 dominant guilds in check, an essential service for the country. For this reason, Go Ganhee is eager to have Jinwoo join their ranks. Jinwoo listens carefully to every word, taking a moment to reflect deeply. A position at the association would not only provide security, but also grant significant influence in society. This is especially true given that Go Ganhee was the first S-rank hunter to awaken in Korea. His impressive physique is so remarkable that no one believes he is over 80 years old. Although he has retired, the president remains on the same level as Jinwoo, despite the boy's relentless efforts to advance. In other words, accepting this offer would alter Jinwoo's life permanently. However, the young hunter declines, as he feels his true place is in the dungeon battling magical beasts. Seeing the sincerity in the boy's eyes, the president of the association experiences a twinge of regret, thinking that if he were 10 years younger, he could join this youth in the dungeon. Not pressing the matter further, he allows the boy to leave, who requests to return home as his sister is alone. As Jinwoo departs, Go Ganhee instructs Jinchul to cancel his schedule for the day, not wanting anything to interfere with his thoughts, the same unsettling feeling he had when he realized that not even an S-rank healer could reverse the effects of his aging strikes him once again. With this in mind, he invites his friend to join him for a drink. On his way home, Jinwoo reflects on the association's focus on rank D and E dungeons, realizing that he must level up quickly to have the strength needed to heal his mother. The following morning, Dong-soo wakes up in a hospital bed, his body broken. Despite his condition, a man approaches him, asking if Sung Il-won is truly a magical beast. Dong-su, without hesitation, affirms this. Once this is clarified, the other man warns that the command center is after Il-won, though he believes they won't be able to capture someone even Dong-su couldn't defeat. Left alone, Dong-su recalls Il-won's foot pressing on his chest, warning him to leave his family alone for his own good. If he didn't heed the warning, not even death would save him from Il-won. Remembering this, Dong-su feels the sting of defeat, the humiliation of his failure physically searing his body. Determined to pursue the man again, Jinwoo resolves to equip himself with the appropriate tools. This includes an artifact, a piece of equipment so rare and powerful that no ordinary artisan could craft it. With the rise in the number of hunters, artifacts have become available for purchase at online auctions, something Jinwoo investigates in search of one for himself. The issue, however, is that such items are exorbitantly expensive, beyond the reach of most buyers. Needing better gear for his return to the Demon Castle, Jinwoo considers selling the Orb of Avarice. However, the presence of such a potent item in the hands of an E-rank hunter would raise suspicions about how he came to possess it. Amidst this dilemma, Jinwoo notices a group of miners seeking hunters for an A-rank raid. Meanwhile, Go Gonhee accesses Jinwoo's data from 4 years ago, a time when his appearance was quite different. For this reason, the president wonders if the boy might have faked his rank. In response, Jinchul points out that there are records of Jinwoo suffering serious injuries multiple times, making it difficult to believe that he could have fabricated such a claim. Jinwoo has been balancing the care of his mother's unending slumber with his sister's education. Go comments that such dedication is rare among the youth these days. Jinchul, upon reviewing Jinwoo's records, sees that he has joined a team of miners for a raid. Gonhee remarks that it's difficult to predict the actions of this young man. Upon arriving at work, the boss inquires if Jinwoo is ranked E, which he confirms. The boss then asks if he has any experience with mining, to which Jinwoo answers no. Assuming the hunter is combat-focused, the boss believes that he needn't worry about the physical condition of the worker. The boss reassures him, saying that there are many people like Jinwoo and everything will be fine. After the man leaves, Jinwoo reflects on the nature of more complex raids, which require a degree of specialization. For example, the attack team handles the magical monsters, the mining team extracts mana crystals, and the collection team disposes of the monsters' carcasses. Despite the numerous participants, Jinwoo believes the profits are worth the risk, even though high-level dungeons harbor unimaginable dangers. As the sound of a fierce roar echoes from within the cave, Choi summons an extraordinarily potent fireball that obliterates the massive monsters before him. He commands the tanks to fulfill their roles, and the shield hunters create a protective barrier around the master. A fireball aimed at them is swiftly blocked by a combined spell from the shield bearers. With that handled, the group presses onward into the depths of the dungeon. Nearby, Jinwoo hears that the attack team is departing, realizing that all the monsters in the dungeon have been defeated, save for the boss. When he encountered Choi the previous day, Jinwoo had recognized his strength, but witnessing him effortlessly clear an A-rank dungeon is truly remarkable. Meanwhile, as Jinwoo passes by the miners, he notices the second in command of the Hunter Guild, Cha Haein, the 9th-ranked S-hunter in Korea, known for her graceful yet deadly fighting style. Immediately, Haein senses an unusual aura among the workers. Suspecting that President Go might be present, with the attack team completing their mission, it is now time for the miners and collectors to begin their tasks. Once inside, Jinwoo's focus shifts to the magical energy radiating from the depths of the cave, likely originating from the boss of this A-rank dungeon. This power surpasses that of Vulcan and Metis in the Demon Castle. Feeling the intensity of this aura, Jinwoo is eager to venture deeper and test the strength of such a formidable creature. Meanwhile, he overhears a group of miners mocking an E-rank rookie who has joined their ranks, a reminder that low-level individuals are often disregarded. When one of the miners bumps into Jinwoo and attempts to challenge him, the man quickly retreats upon witnessing the intense mana emanating from Jinwoo's eyes. While Jinwoo works, his colleagues begin to notice his strength, which seems incongruent with his low rank. Nonetheless, they see it as a fortunate advantage for the mining team. Later, during the lunch break, Jinwoo seizes the opportunity as everyone else leaves, planning to use the time to make his way to the boss chamber. He understands that if he defeats the boss, the portal will close, resulting in a significant loss for the guild. However, that doesn't mean he can't land a few blows on the monster first. Just as he's about to proceed, Cha Haein appears, pressing a cloth to her nose and inquiring about what the worker is doing there. Jinwoo chastises himself for his carelessness before addressing Cha Haein, explaining that he merely lost his way and unintentionally ended up here. She scrutinizes him before asking if he belongs to the mining team, then promptly warns him that this is the boss room and orders him to step back. Jinwoo acknowledges that Cha Haein's formidable reputation is well-deserved. He hadn't even noticed her presence until she spoke. Heian's gaze sharpens as she observes something unusual. Just moments ago, she had clearly seen a dagger in Jin Woo's hand, yet now it has inexplicably vanished. She briefly wonders if her eyes had deceived her. Jin Woo offers a quick apology for straying off course, but she remains firm, instructing him to leave immediately to avoid provoking the boss. As he moves to comply, he passes by Heian, who suddenly stops him, her expression shifting. She leans in slightly and takes a whiff of him, puzzled by the absence of the usual stench that clings to hunters. Intrigued, she asks if he is truly a hunter. Upon confirming that he is, and that he holds the rank of E, her brows knit together in subtle confusion. As if something doesn't quite add up, however, she dismisses the thought, simply advising him to be cautious on his way out. As Jin Woo turns to leave, an odd thought lingers in her mind. Perhaps his lack of odor was due to his low rank, yet she realizes something even stranger. He didn't just lack the usual stench, he smelled rather pleasant. After his break, Jin Woo returns to the dungeon, where his fellow miners express their envy. Lamenting that he was fortunate enough to meet Cha Heian when he got lost, they admit that they can only admire her from afar, explaining that she constantly patrols the area, sacrificing her own rest to safeguard them from the boss. Jin Woo realizes that this is why she had been near the boss room. The mining boss then reveals that Cha Heian is particularly sensitive to the scent of other hunters, with the miners elaborating that her unique body constitution makes it difficult for her to tolerate their presence. This is why she is always seen covering her nose with a handkerchief. Jin Woo reflects on her unusual reaction to him, suspecting that he lacks the typical scent of a hunter. He recalls the Red Gate boss making a similar remark, and deduces that it must be because he is a player. However, the true significance of being a player remains a mystery to him. Later, after the mining work concludes, Jin Woo collects his payment. The mining boss expresses his gratitude, noting that they managed to finish early thanks to him. The other miners jest that he has an innate talent for this kind of work, while the boss, with years of experience in the field, admits he has never encountered someone quite like Jin Woo. Seizing the opportunity, he offers Jin Woo a permanent position, assuring him that he would be compensated generously. However, Jin Woo declines, stating that this was merely a one-time endeavor for him. Though disappointed, the boss persists, requesting Jin Woo's assistance for one more day, explaining that they are scheduled to handle consecutive A and C rank missions tomorrow. Jin Woo recalls that his re-evaluation test is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. Now that he has familiarized himself with the raid process, he finds it surprising that the Hunters Guild conducts back-to-back missions. Tomorrow they are set to handle 2 consecutive raids. The mining boss informs him that the second assault team will be leading the operations, leaving Jin Woo astonished. The boss then explains that the Hunters Guild possesses a unique advantage. Unlike any other guild in the country, they have 2 elite assault teams capable of raiding high-rank gates. Jin Woo, recognizing the significance of this, agrees to return tomorrow. The boss, visibly pleased, assures him that he will speak with his superior about doubling his salary. Jin Woo dismisses the offer, but the boss insists, unwilling to overlook his contributions. Later that night, Cha Heian makes a call requesting an investigation into Jin Woo's background within the mining team. To her surprise, the person on the other end already knows him. He explains that Choi had asked for the same inquiry just the other day. However, he is unable to provide any details, as all records concerning Jin Woo have been sealed by the Hunter Association. He notes that this is highly unusual. He has never seen the association restrict information on anyone who isn't a high-level hunter. Ending the call, Heian lies on her bed, lost in thought. She struggles to piece together the significance of these revelations. Throughout her career, she has encountered countless hunters, yet Jin Woo is the only one who carries a scent that she finds pleasant. The following day, Jin Woo arrives at the gate's entrance, where he is warmly welcomed by the others. The camaraderie stirs memories of his early hunting days, bringing a faint smile to his face. The group decides to begin with the C-rank gate, and once inside, Jin Woo mines monostones with mechanical precision, resembling a human excavator. After wrapping up the task, he joins the others for a meal where the boss commends his efficiency, remarking that they were only able to finish ahead of schedule and enjoy this break thanks to him. Seizing the moment, the boss once again extends an offer for Jin Woo to work with them, even promising 5 times the usual pay. However, Jin Woo firmly declines. Shortly after, Sun Ki-hoon, captain of the second assault team, arrives, requesting to borrow someone from the mining team since their porter is absent. The boss suggests that the recovery team would be better suited for the task, but Ki-hoon informs him that they are already understaffed. The boss's expression darkens with displeasure. In an attempt to persuade them, Ki-hoon proposes offering a risk allowance to anyone willing to accompany them inside the dungeon. However, the boss remains unmoved, asserting that low-rank hunters like them are prohibited from entering A-rank dungeons. He is certain that no amount of money will change that fact. Ki-hoon makes one final inquiry, asking if anyone is willing to step forward. Without hesitation, Jin Woo raises his hand. The boss immediately tries to dissuade him, but Jin Woo reassures him with a confident smirk, stating that he is more than capable. The others persist, warning Ki-hoon that Jin Woo is new and doesn't fully comprehend the dangers ahead. Ki-hoon, however, remains unfazed and simply asks for Jin Woo's rank. Upon learning that he is rank E, he accepts him without hesitation. As they approach the gate, Jin Woo immediately notices that it is significantly larger than the one from the previous day. Ki-hoon acknowledges this but explains that despite its size, the gate's magical energy is weaker than yesterday's. He assures Jin Woo that it poses no real threat. If it did, a second team wouldn't have been assigned to it. Jin Woo scans the team, noting the presence of 6 rank A hunters and 3 rank B hunters. Even without an S rank among them, their sheer strength makes them a formidable assault team. As they step inside, Jin Woo senses that the mana here is undoubtedly weaker than in the previous dungeon. However, a foreboding presence lingers in the air, eerily reminiscent of the oppressive aura within the Red Gate. Noticing his unease, the team's healer offers reassurance, advising him to stay close, as the hunters here are exceptionally strong. So long as he remains with them, nothing will happen to him. Meanwhile, Ki-hoon contemplates his future. This raid is his opportunity to solidify his appointment as the official captain of the 2nd Assault Team. Though he lacks the overwhelming power of their former captain and vice-captain, he is determined to prove himself worthy of the role. Suddenly, the group senses the presence of monsters ahead and swiftly readies themselves, acting without needing any orders. They are soon confronted by a pack of dungeon jackals, but these creatures prove to be no match for the hunters, who eliminate them in mere seconds. Surprised by their appearance, Jin Woo wonders if dungeon jackals are a rare sight. The healer informs him that they are C-rank monsters, and it's unusual to encounter them in an A-rank dungeon, as weaker creatures like these are typically consumed by stronger ones. Upon closer inspection, Jin Woo notices collars around their necks, realizing that these jackals were being raised as hunting dogs by someone. Before they can process this, more monsters approach. An army of high orcs. One of the orcs hurls a spear, which Ki-hoon barely manages to block. The orcs charge forward, and the tank attempts to use his taunt skill to draw their attention, but it proves ineffective, and the monsters shift their focus to the weaker members in the back. One of the hunters manages to fend them off, but the orcs take no damage, their high magic resistance nullifying the attack. The party's mage attempts to bind the orcs, but the spell proves ineffective, as the creatures are far too strong. In response, the fire mage summons 2 fire soldiers to assist, and the fire soldiers engage the orcs in battle. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is engaged in combat. The orcs manage to injure the martial artist, and the team urgently calls for the healer to tend to her. But she is already occupied with healing the tank. Ki-hoon assesses the situation, realizing that they are vastly outnumbered and fearing that this could be the end for them. The orcs then sever one of the hunter's arms, and Ki-hoon prays that no one else will perish. The healer quickly regenerates the hunter's lost arm, while the bespectacled mage struggles to hold back the advancing orcs. At that moment, an orc sneaks up behind the healer. Accepting the inevitable, she prepares for her demise, but just before the orc can strike, Jin Woo intervenes, using his ruler's hand. He swiftly kills the orc, ripping its spine out. The healer is stunned by the sudden turn of events. Unsure of what just happened, Jin Woo activates his stealth skill, moving quietly to assist the others. He attacks the orcs from the shadows, weakening them without being detected. The hunters are taken aback by the sudden weakening of the orcs, but quickly seize the opportunity. They launch a full-scale offensive, cutting down the orcs one by one. Jin Woo, despite his desire to remain inconspicuous, is determined not to let anyone die under his watch. He continues to secretly sabotage the orcs, ensuring the battle swings in their favor. In the end, the remaining hunters manage to eliminate all the orcs, securing victory. Ki-hoon surveys the group, asking if everyone is all right, and he breathes a sigh of relief when they confirm they are. The healer then remarks that something unusual occurred during the battle, and Ki-hoon admits that he too noticed the monsters suddenly weaken. He inquires if the mages were responsible, but they deny it, noting that such an occurrence would be impossible without an assassin-type hunter. They decide not to dwell on it, chalking it up to mere luck since they emerged victorious. Meanwhile, the bespectacled mage reflects on how their porter must have greatly underestimated their team. Realizing that the stealth skill should have been detected, especially with a magic caster among them, she decides to keep his secret. She acknowledges that he likely has his reasons for acting as he did, and feels indebted to him, as his actions were instrumental in their survival. The hunters then turn to their captain, questioning whether they should push forward or retreat. They express concern that to tackle a dungeon of this scale, they would need at least 2 more healers and 3 more mages. After a moment of contemplation, the leader takes his time to consider their suggestions. Jin Woo understands the hesitation surrounding the decision to retreat from a dungeon, yet he hopes the leader will make the right choice. Eventually, the leader opts to withdraw, and the group breathes a collective sigh of relief. As they approach the gate leading out, they notice a barrier sealing it off. They recall that this barrier was not present when they entered, prompting the mages to step forward and attempt to remove it. They express gratitude for their decision to retreat, now aware that this dungeon harbors an entity capable of such powerful magic. Suddenly, everyone senses a surge of high-level magical energy, and they wonder if this is the boss. The mages hasten their efforts to dispel the barrier, while Jinwoo questions why such a magical fluctuation had not been detected earlier, as even a B-rank hunter should have been able to sense it. At that moment, the mages begin to bleed profusely, and the others realize that the barrier was cursed, triggered as a trap. The captain immediately instructs one of the hunters to cast vine magic, but his command goes unheard. Turning to see what the others are doing, he is struck with horror as he spots an entire army of orcs closing in behind them. They estimate that around 50 orcs are present, and the leaders of both groups step forward, meeting each other halfway. The orc leader attempts to communicate, but they are unable to understand him. The orc shaman then takes control of the leader's body, speaking in fluent human language. Introducing himself as Kargalgan, the shaman tells Ki-hoon that he wishes to meet the humans. Ki-hoon inquires if he is the one who sealed the entrance, and the shaman confirms it. Ki-hoon then asks if there is a stronger being than him in the dungeon, but the shaman denies it. He offers them a choice: either come to meet him or perish at the hands of his soldiers. Ki-hoon, without hesitation, decides to face the shaman, and the orcs lead the way. As they walk, he informs Jinwoo that they will strike the boss as soon as they reach its chamber. This, he believes, will temporarily distract the boss and prevent it from maintaining the barrier. He urges Jinwoo to seize the opportunity to escape and alert the other assault team. Jinwoo wonders if they are preparing to sacrifice themselves. Ki-hoon calmly responds that their mission is to close the gate, not to ensure their survival in the dungeon. The healer hands Jinwoo a brief will, asking him to deliver it to her family should the worst happen. Jinwoo accepts it, though he hopes it won't come to that. She tells him that they must complete the mission, but her situation is different, urging him to ensure his escape. Jinwoo reflects that this desperate situation mirrors the double dungeon, but these people are vastly different from those he faced back then. Outside the gate, Cha Hae-in searches for Jinwoo, but she can't locate him, wondering if he has resigned from the team. The mining team boss notices her, and upon her inquiry about Jinwoo, informs her that he has entered the gate as a porter. Back inside the gate, Jinwoo and the others arrive at a throne room where they are greeted by Kargalgan and a vast army of orcs. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Cha ponders why Jinwoo entered as a mere porter, considering he has only one life to live. She recalls seeing him just yesterday standing before a boss room, weapon in hand. Further deepening her suspicions, she informs the miner's leader of her intent to investigate and inquires about available weapons. With only a pickaxe at his disposal, he hands it to her. She asks if he has anything more suitable, but he possesses only mining tools. Opting to go in unarmed, she hesitates momentarily until he questions her resolve. With a firm grip, she takes the pickaxe and proceeds. Simultaneously, within the gate, the hunters are shaken by the sheer number of high orcs. Realizing that, should they escape, entire cities would be reduced to ruins, their alarm intensifies as they identify 4 generals among the horde. Far stronger than the rest, the boss abruptly commands silence, and the thundering footsteps cease. Ki-hoon deduces that their objective is to shut the gate, which means they must defeat the dungeon's boss. When the boss unmasks himself, an overwhelming surge of magical energy radiates from him, rendering the hunters paralyzed with fear. Feeling utterly insignificant before his power, Ki-hoon, barely maintaining composure, demands to know why they have been summoned. The boss coldly declares that they are nothing more than entertainment, vowing to slaughter them one by one for his soldiers' amusement. Ki-hoon and the others are consumed by despair, unable to fathom that their determination amounts to mere spectacle. To the enemy, they are nothing but disposable playthings. Spotting Jinwoo, the boss senses an anomaly among the humans but remains indifferent. Ki-hoon, unwilling to cower, launches an attack, commanding his comrades to follow suit, only to realize they are paralyzed by fear. Undeterred, he charges alone. But the boss effortlessly blocks with a magical shield before unleashing gravitational magic, hurling Ki-hoon against the floor and ceiling like a rag doll. His teammates watch in horror as Jinwoo intervenes, catching Ki-hoon and laying him down. Though this mission belongs to the Hunters Guild, Jinwoo cannot ignore the imminent massacre. An orc lunges at him, but he halts and annihilates it with ruler's hand. Turning to Ki-hoon, he asks if he can entrust the remaining magical beasts to him. With no alternatives, Ki-hoon concedes. The boss scoffs at Jinwoo's audacity, unleashing his overwhelming magical power. Jinwoo, sensing such an immense presence for the first time, acknowledges its strength. However, their roles are fundamentally opposed. Summoning his shadow army, he solemnly declares his intent to end the boss. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, the scene shifts to the arrival of the surveillance department, led by Gael. The miners murmur in confusion, questioning their presence. Gael, on the other hand, is perplexed. Why would Jin Woo toil here as a miner for 2 days? The miners' leader confronts Gael, inquiring about his purpose, to which Gael responds with a question of his own. Where is Jin Woo? A disgruntled miner steps forward, seizing the moment to voice his suspicions about Jin Woo. Gael dismisses him, instead directing his focus back to the leader, who reveals that Jin Woo entered the gate as a porter. Gael struggles to grasp Jin Woo's intentions, first working as a miner, then entering as a porter. Ever since Jin Woo became an S-rank hunter, every move of his has been monitored, and Gael wishes he would at least be mindful of his actions. Perplexed, the miners' leader questions the situation, but Gael simply tells him to watch the news tomorrow for answers. Approaching the gate, he is informed that Cha had asked the same question earlier. This revelation surprises him, but before he can dwell on it, an even more startling occurrence unfolds. He detects an ominous aura emanating from the gate. Without hesitation, he orders his team to conduct another magical energy assessment on the dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Cha-hin is taken aback by the sheer number of slain high orcs. She cannot fathom how Ki-hun's party managed such a feat, however. Sensing the same overwhelming magical presence, she wastes no time and hastens toward the boss room. The scene shifts to the boss ridiculing Jin Woo for daring to face his army with such an insignificant force. In response, Jin Woo amplifies his shadow army's strength using Monarch's domain. He explains that this newly acquired skill enhances his soldiers, further bolstered by their experience from the battle at the Demon's Castle. The other hunters, bewildered by the unfolding chaos, struggle to comprehend the situation as the High Orcs launch their assault. However, Jin Woo's generals prove formidable, cutting through their foes with ease, akin to mere pest control. Jin Woo himself aids in thinning their numbers, and the hunters observe that his movements mirror Cha-hin's. They remain perplexed as to why someone of his caliber would pose as a porter. Meanwhile, Jin Woo assesses his forces, realizing that the strength of his infantry rivals that of a rank hunters. Yet his soldiers are perishing 4 to 5 times just to bring down a single orc. Recognizing the unsustainable drain on his mana, he concludes that reducing their numbers is imperative. The boss then enters the fray, conjuring a fire spell that incinerates Jin Woo's shadow soldiers. Sneering, he warns Jin Woo against arrogance. However, Jin Woo remains unfazed, calmly informing him that his soldiers possess the ability to resurrect indefinitely. The boss unleashes his gravity magic upon Jin Woo and his soldiers, vowing to obliterate them repeatedly until Jin Woo's magic is depleted. He relentlessly crushes the shadow soldiers, only for Jin Woo to summon them back each time. Observing the pattern, Jin Woo speculates that the boss is deliberately maintaining distance, relying on long-range attacks. Meanwhile, the boss scoffs, questioning how long Jin Woo can endure this battle of attrition. Outside the gate, the results of the magic power assessment arrive, confirming that the dungeon is dangerously close to an S-rank gate. Alarmed, Gael orders the miners to contact the Hunters Guild leader immediately, while the surveillance department mobilizes to assist the assault team inside. Back in the dungeon, the boss declares that both the strength and sheer numbers of his army surpass Jin Woo's. Meanwhile, Jin Woo, fully aware of his rapidly depleting magic reserves, assesses his next move. Jin Woo drinks a mana potion, amplifying his power, and declares that he is only now beginning to reveal his true prowess as a necromancer. Instantly, he resurrects all the fallen high orcs as undead and taunts the boss, vowing to make him part of his army as well. The boss, now unsettled, questions whether Jin Woo is the Lord, and wonders why he is even here. He recalls that ever since he awakened in this place, a singular command has echoed in his mind: eliminate humans. Dismissing the reasoning behind it as irrelevant, he chooses to obey without question, sending his generals into battle. Meanwhile, at the Hunters Guild, Choi Jong-in is stunned to learn that the gate is nearing S-rank classification. The accuracy of the assessment seems undeniable. If it were incorrect, Ki-hun and the others would have emerged by now. He grimly realizes that a dungeon break here would mirror the catastrophic Jew Island incident, but finds solace in the fact that time remains to act. Without hesitation, he orders his assistant to mobilize every hunter in the guild. The assistant immediately issues a call to all A-rank and above hunters. When Choi Jong-in suggests seeking reinforcements from the White Tiger and Fiend guilds, the assistant reacts with surprise. However, Choi Jong-in solemnly states that their priority is damage control, preventing the situation from spiraling further. Meanwhile, within the boss room, Jin Woo's generals clash with the orc generals, utterly overwhelming them in battle. The boss, taken aback by his subordinates' defeat, watches in disbelief. Seizing the moment, the other hunters attempt to assist Jin Woo, but the boss refuses to let them interfere, swiftly injuring several of them. Rising from his lofty throne, he declares that Jin Woo will come to regret challenging him. He casts curses meant to inflict blindness, lethargy, and slumber, yet they fail to take effect due to Jin Woo's health and longevity skill. Unfazed, Jin Woo explains his immunity to poisons and curses before summoning his mages. The boss raises a magic shield in defense, but the mages retaliate with a fireball, enhanced by the Orb of Avarice. The spell tears through his barrier, striking him directly, enraging him further. Just then, Cha Hayan arrives, utterly stunned by the chaotic battlefield. Surveying the scene, she spots the injured Ki-hoon being treated by a healer. She turns to the other hunters for an update, but they remain just as uncertain about the unfolding situation. The boss casts enhancement magic along with other spells, transforming himself into a towering giant in an attempt to crush Jin Woo beneath his foot. However, Jin Woo swiftly evades, remarking that he has no fondness for giants, likely due to his past experience in the double dungeon. Unfazed, the boss unleashes a barrage of fire spells, engulfing the battlefield in flames, indiscriminately incinerating both allies and enemies. Scoffing, he questions whether Jin Woo still believes he can stand against him. In response, Jin Woo drives his dagger into the boss's eye, mocking him for turning into an even larger target. He states that a mage without protection is defenseless against an assassin-type hunter. The boss retaliates with another wave of fire magic, yet Jin Woo effortlessly dodges and counters with his dagger, only to find it ineffective. Realizing he needs a more potent attack, he utilizes Ruler's Hand to seize nearby chains, binding the boss and hurling him violently across the room. At that moment, Jinchul arrives, awestruck by the spectacle before him. He informs Cha Hayan that he came to provide support after sensing an immense surge of magic from outside, but now realizes it's no longer necessary. Witnessing even the chief of the surveillance department acknowledge Jin Woo's power, Cha Hayan concludes that he must be someone of great significance and asks who he really is. Jinchul, however, admits that he doesn't know much about Jin Woo himself. Turning to the wounded boss, Jin Woo coldly states that his fate was sealed the moment his guards fell. Refusing to concede, the boss struggles in vain, but Jin Woo commands his own former guards to finish him off. Afterward, Jin Woo levels up and extracts the boss's soul. Noticing that he has the ability to name him, he realizes he doesn't recall the boss's original name, just as he once forgot his own. With that, he bestows upon him the name Fang. Jin Woo discovers that Fang holds the elite knight rank, one he has never encountered before, yet he is certain of its extraordinary significance. He also acknowledges the high orcs as a valuable acquisition. As he immerses himself in the soul extraction, he fails to notice Jinchul approaching until now. The other hunters, bewildered, demand an explanation, but before Jin Woo can respond, Jinchul's team intervenes, declaring that Jin Woo's abilities are classified as the association's top secret. Jinchul instructs everyone to keep today's events confidential, emphasizing that Jin Woo only revealed the power of an S-rank hunter to protect them. With that, Jin Woo and the others prepare to leave. Before departing, Ki-hoon and his party express their sincere gratitude. Later, Jin Woo ensures the healer's will is safely returned to her. Choi Jong-in receives the incident report and is astounded by Jin Woo's capabilities. He finds it difficult to grasp the sheer number of abilities this man possesses. Curious, he asks Ki-hoon who is stronger between him and Jin Woo. Ki-hoon explains that raids typically require multiple hunters working together, yet Jin Woo shatters that convention entirely. He then challenges Choi Jong-in, asking if he could ever clear the most perilous dungeons alone. Choi Jong-in admits that he cannot, realizing that his title as the ultimate hunter now feels like nothing more than a joke. Meanwhile, Jin Woo meets with Jinho and inquires about the Guildmaster situation. Jinho proceeds to relay the details of what transpired. The scene shifts to the Hunter Association, where renowned actor Lee Min-sung has awakened as a hunter. The media swarms the area, eager to cover the breaking news. Basking in the attention, Min-sung revels in the moment, convinced that he is the true star of the day. Outside the Hunter Association, the media swarmed in search of Lee Min-sung, the man at the center of it all. Observing the chaos from his car, Min-sung smirked, relishing the attention. As the vehicle arrived, Baek Yun-ho of the White Tiger Guild and Choi Jong-in of the Hunters Guild stepped out, prompting the press to rush toward them, speculating recruitment efforts for Min-sung. Baek, however, had no idea who he was, while Choi clarified that Min-sung had already joined the Reapers Guild, dismissing the reporter's interest. With the media diverted, Baek brought up the A-rank portal incident that nearly escalated to S-rank. However, the association's master downplayed its severity compared to the Red Portal disaster that claimed a White Tiger ranker's life. Regardless, Jin Woo's role in recent events had disrupted guild dynamics, fueling a rivalry as both factions sought an S-rank hunter, one mysterious youth. Just then, a Reapers Guild member confronted them, accusing them of trying to steal Min-sung. The S-ranks, irritated, dismissed the notion entirely. Meanwhile, Jin Woo arrived for his re-evaluation, oblivious to the storm brewing around him. In Han Song-yi and Jenna Sun's classroom, the girls are glued to their phones, watching Min-sung's press conference. Known as a playboy and a deceitful actor, Lee Min-sung, exuding confidence, announces his awakening as a hunter and his upcoming rank evaluation. Though he once resisted this path, he now embraces the destiny he was born for, pledging loyalty to Lord Lim Taju. master of the Reapers Guild. The press in a frenzy questions if abandoning his acting career is wise. Internally, Min Sung knows he has already secured his A rank with a 2-year Reapers contract. A mission or two will suffice to bury past scandals and cement his status as an A- rank hunter. Meanwhile, Jin Woo reaches the building's entrance, only to be blocked by security due to the ongoing press event. He asserts his appointment with the association, but they refuse him entry. Min Sung scoffs, wondering who this nobody is. Suddenly, President Go arrives, overruling security, declaring Jin Woo his guest and making it clear he never approved any press conference. Min Sung, his moment abruptly cut short, informs the media that he will quickly check with the association. But Jinil blocks his entry, stating that another re-evaluation is in progress and Min Sung must wait. Leaning in, Min Sung warns the inspector that a single call from him could end the guy's career. Unfazed, Jinil coldly replies that he has no tolerance for Min Sung's arrogance. Inside, the president informs Jin Woo that Choi and Beck have personally come to witness his re-evaluation, as their guilds have lacked an S rank for 2 years, making him the center of attention. Jin Woo is led to the evaluation chamber, but before proceeding, the examiner must verify his abilities. When asked about his powers, Jin Woo simply states that he can summon certain things. Intrigued, President Go reveals that Director Woo Jinil has compiled a thorough report on him, emphasizing the importance of full disclosure. Grasping the weight of the moment, Jin Woo chooses not to evade and instead unveils hundreds of spectral shadow soldiers. Instantly, Choi and Beck acknowledge that such overwhelming power would annihilate them. Following the evaluation, Jin Woo patiently awaits his results, seen earning his new identity as an S-rank mage. To him, this is ideal. Now he can sell the Orb of Greed without raising suspicion and acquire the gear necessary to conquer the demonic castle. President Go admits his anticipation to witness Jin Woo's prowess as an S-rank. Stepping out, Jin Woo is met by Choi and Beck, who congratulate him and request a moment to talk. Without stopping, he declines, stating he has more pressing matters to attend to. Despite their warnings, he unknowingly opens the exit door, oblivious to what awaits. Meanwhile, Han Song informs Gina that her brother is on a live broadcast, watching the association's headquarters stream. Across the nation, various figures witness the moment on TV. Jin Woo has officially become the 10th S-rank hunter in history. The revelation sparks a nationwide uproar, as no S-rank had emerged in 2 years since Cha Hae-in. Later, Jin Woo informs his father that he cannot join the family guild. As an S-rank, he has unfinished business that demands his undivided focus. He must continue fighting and growing stronger. Any affiliation would hinder his path. Instead, Jin Woo makes a bold request. He asks Jin Ho to join him. The father remarks that accepting the offer would be pure selfishness, reminding Jin Ho that he had entrusted Jin Sung with this project. Despite all the planning, Jin Ho now presents a new proposal, yet having accomplished nothing, he intends to abandon his responsibilities and work elsewhere, a notion he dismisses as absurd. Listening intently, Jin Ho recalls memories with his foster brother. With conviction, he apologizes but firmly declares his decision to work alongside Jin Sung. In response, his father warns him to be ready for the consequences. Back at the media frenzy outside the association, Beck approaches Jin Woo, advising him not to overexert himself, engaging with the crowd and offering him a ride home. Yet, before Beck even finishes speaking, Jin Woo vanishes in a blur, effortlessly evading the press. With a swift maneuver, he circles past them, pulls his hoodie up and disappears into the city. Choi observes that, despite being a mage type, the kid possesses exceptional physical prowess, while Beck is stunned that he couldn't even track his movements. Meanwhile, Jin Woo prepares for his next challenge at the Hunter's Auction, seeking artifacts to shield him from extreme heat as he ventures into a scorching dungeon. The seller presents a cloak wearable over clothes and a ring designed for easy use. Shocked by the price, Jin Woo inquires about a discount, but the employee regretfully states that the item's value is non-negotiable. However, there's an alternative. If he can break a specific glass display, he can claim everything inside for free. The glass, reinforced with magic, is said to withstand even a rank hunter's. Jin Woo approaches, sensing a faint magical current but nothing formidable. Channeling mana into his right fist, he prepares to strike. Instantly, the seller clarifies it was just a joke, warning that even a vibration could trigger security, regardless of whether the glass shatters. Awkwardly, Jin Woo shifts focus, mentioning he's also searching for daggers. Another employee, overseeing weapon sales, steps forward to assist. The employee glances back at the glass, noticing a visible crack, despite Jin Woo never touching it. Jin Woo then examines a dagger on par with Kaka's venomous fang and inquires about the price, only to find it exorbitant. Seeking an alternative, he offers one of his own daggers for sale. After assessing the weapon, the employee offers 100 million for it, leaving Jin Woo astonished, given that he originally acquired it for less than 3 million gold. With the Mag Assassin rank B fetching such a high price, he considers the possibility of not needing to sell the Orb of Greed. Before leaving, he requests to use the store's restroom. That night, Beck sits alone in his office deep in thought. He always knew Jin Woo was powerful, but this surpassed all expectations. The immense magical energy he sensed during the evaluation, coupled with the boy's formidable physical abilities, suggests a complete reawakening. Yet, as Jin Woo continues to grow even stronger, Beck wonders, had he ever truly reawakened, or was he something beyond, capable of limitless evolution? The next morning, Gina sighs in relief. The press crowding her doorstep has finally disappeared, allowing her to head to school in peace. Annoyed, she grumbles that her brother should at least warn her before making a TV appearance, but Jin Woo had been just as surprised. Regardless, he informs her that he's leaving tomorrow and will be away for a week. Just then, Jin Ho arrives, brimming with excitement, introducing himself to Gina as her brother's loyal squire. Seizing the moment, Jin Woo explains that he'll be occupied with work all week, dragging Jin Ho into the narrative by firmly squeezing his shoulder. Forced to play along, Jin Ho repeats the exact same words to Gina. That night, while the others sleep, Jin Woo summons Fang and his elite subordinates but is puzzled. He remembers having 4 bodyguards, yet only 3 stand before him. One of the orcs gestures upward, revealing the 4th stuck in the ceiling, rendering his shadow unrecoverable. Nonetheless, the remaining 3 are formidable enough. Assigning one as Gina's protector, Jin Woo departs to summon additional shadow soldiers, intent on strengthening the city's defenses. In the dead of night, a winged creature soars across the sky. At dawn, Jin Woo joins Jin Ho for the ride, explaining that this job at DS Tower will keep him away for a week and double as training. Jin Ho, bewildered, asks if he still seeks more strength despite being S rank. Jin Woo, unwavering, affirms absolutely. Arriving at the entrance to the demonic castle, Jin Woo descends into the dungeon's depths, armed with his newly acquired water-enchanted ring and wind-infused cloak, both crucial against the infernal blaze within. One way or another, this place will be conquered. A message arrives for Jin Woo, his mission: defeat Baron, the demonic monarch residing on the labyrinth's highest floor. The reward, a soul swap runestone, clearly hints at a class ability. With such a prize at stake, his resolve strengthens as he resumes the quest from floor 475. Meanwhile, Gina's mother remarks that she never expected Jin Woo to leave home on his own and asks if her husband misses him. The father, unfazed, dismisses it as merely a troublesome child leaving the nest, yet mid-sentence, a strange sensation grips his body. His vision fades and he collapses. Back in the demonic castle, a massive creature prowls an upper floor. Without hesitation, Jin Woo summons Fang to test his new weapon. The High Orc leader unleashes devastating force, obliterating the foe instantly. Awed by its raw power, Jin Woo realizes he must use it wisely. For now, he entrusts the Orb of Greed to Fang. Hours later, Jin Woo's father regains consciousness in a hospital bed, his wife informing him that their son visited while he was unconscious. Moments later, the doctor enters, revealing a grim diagnosis. He has contracted eternal sleep disease, a condition that starts with sudden drowsiness and ultimately leads to a permanent coma. The doctor explains that those afflicted have low resistance to mana, a result of prolonged exposure to magical energy. He then inquires whether the patient frequently interacts with hunters. Jin Woo's father, after a brief pause, confirms that his son works in that field. Meanwhile, as night approaches, 2 hunters patrol the city's seaside, enjoying the calm, until they notice a peculiar winged insect hovering nearby, its gaze fixed directly on them. Jin Woo forms 6 shadow squads to optimize efficiency, issuing 2 directives: eliminate all enemies encountered, and immediately report if an entry permit is found. Though some loot may be left behind, this strategy ensures rapid progression. At least that was the plan. 2 days into his ascent to the 80th floor, progress slows dramatically. Watching his MP drain, he realizes his shadows are being destroyed. Seeking answers, he heads to Squad B's last known location, only to find them annihilated. This anomaly puzzles him. Fang's squad had been positioned beside Squad A, yet Squad B, stationed farther away, was taken out first, which defies logic. The only plausible explanation: the enemy deliberately avoided Fang, targeting weaker units instead. If they're prioritizing threats, the Bears will be next. The Bears finally clash with the 4 demons responsible for the carnage. With unmatched skill, the demons tear through enemy lines, unleashing devastation once more. Observing the battle, Jin Woo grasps why his forces fell. Just then, a superior demon lunges at him. He effortlessly evades each vicious strike before retaliating with a kick that sends his foe hurtling an incredible distance. 2 more demons charge. Jin Woo eliminates both in an instant with his dagger. Advancing toward the last opponent, he finally uncovers the answer to a lingering question. Do magical monsters experience fear? As he closes in, the answer becomes clear. Yes, they do. The demon girl unleashed attack, but Jin Woo was going to end her. But just as he raised his dagger toward the helmet, a girl's voice pleaded for mercy. Removing the helmet, he discovered a demon girl begging for her life. Jin Woo wasn't convinced. She had attacked his soldiers and now she sought mercy. She claimed she was merely following orders to defend against invaders like him. As Jin Woo turned to leave, she lunged to strike from behind, only to crash into Tusk's shield. Jin Woo looked at her. She immediately dropped to her knees, spilling apologies. Jin Woo demanded the entry permit. She claimed her family guarded it and promised to secure one if he escorted her home. Jin Woo asked her if she can be trusted while showing he is powerful. Swearing on her life, she insisted she spoke the truth. Jin Woo shrugged. If she delivered the permit, he wouldn't have to raise the place. Then he asked who the hell she is anyway. On a distant island, a man was devoured by a giant ant, and another nearby met the same fate. The nightmare escalated. The ants had learned to fly. In Demon Castle, the elf girl revealed herself as Princess Essel of the Radiru clan, but Jin Woo dismissed the title. He demanded to know if voices urged her to exterminate humans. She denied it but admitted hearing a voice commanding her to defend the area since their arrival. Her people once dwelled in the demon realm before ending up here. When Jin Woo asked about what are they doing in the demon realm, she froze and said that they are preparing for the war. She barely managed to confess their foes were so formidable that the entire demon race had to unite. Before she could elaborate, a mysterious force silenced her, claiming Jin Woo was too inquisitive. Essel instantly collapsed. At the Hunter Association, the situation was dire. Footage of the mutant ant assault revealed 294 civilian deaths and the loss of 6 hunters. Worse still, the attacked island lay just 150 kilometers from Jeju. If the ants could fly that far, widespread devastation was inevitable. South Korea couldn't face this threat alone. They had to seek international reinforcements. At Demon Castle, Essel awoke, apologizing for fainting. Jin Woo simply asked if they had arrived. She pointed ahead. Her family's castle was close. Upon arrival, her father panicked, demanding to know who the monstrous intruder was. Essel insisted Jin Woo was a guest, but her father refused to trust someone who arrived with an army. Without delay, he ordered his knights to attack. Unfazed, Jin Woo stated he only wanted the entry permit. Then realization struck. The man before him had obliterated Vulcan and Midas effortlessly. Defeat was certain. Reluctantly, the king surrendered the permit and ordered him to leave. Then Jin Woo dropped a bombshell. He was taking the princess with him. Before the king could erupt, Jin Woo clarified he only needed her to locate the remaining permits. He vowed to protect her, and after much hesitation, the king reluctantly agreed. Outside the castle, Jin Woo continued obliterating the demon knights. He noticed Ygritte and Tank growing stronger by the second. Essel warned that the monsters on the upper floors were far more formidable than anything they'd faced, but Jin Woo shrugged it off. None of these so-called noble clans could challenge him. Then Essel bluntly asked why he spared her family. Without hesitation, Jin Woo delivered the most shocking answer. Because I like you. Instant heart failure, her mind short-circuited, and her soul nearly left her body. Before she could start fantasizing about their future, Jin Woo nonchalantly told her she could head home. He only needed the permit locations. He warned her the upcoming battles would be far more brutal, making it too dangerous for her to stay. Just like that, her heart shattered. She asked if she was useless now, but Jin Woo assured her she had already been a great help. Still, she pleaded to stay and witness his battles. She needed to see it for herself. With a sigh, Jin Woo relented, telling her not to fall behind. She hadn't exaggerated. Even Jin Woo admitted the fights were 90 times tougher. But did that stop him? No. He still crushed those monsters like they were nothing at the Hunter Guild. Four Eyes and Cha received an urgent request from the association. They were needed for a mission against the mutant ants, with another rank S guild leader joining the fight. At Demon Castle, Jin Woo and Essel finally reached the 100th floor, the final boss room. Just as Essel began to say, "Ha, looks empty," a massive dragon tore through the ceiling. Lightning erupted, obliterating everything. Atop the fearsome wyvern stood none other than Baron, the Demon King. Even Jin Woo knew this would be a challenge. As for Essel, she was on the brink of a full-blown panic attack. To make matters worse, Baron could fly. Before they could react, he unleashed a Naruto-level Edo Tensei, summoning an army of demons. Jin Woo hadn't anticipated that many foes, so he instantly summoned his shadow army. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Tusk unleashed a fire tsunami, obliterating 300 demons in one strike. Essel stood frozen, torn between siding with the Demon King or the unstoppable invader who had bulldozed his way here. Before she could decide, Baron unleashed a skyborn powerful spell, annihilating everything in its path. Shadow soldiers were wiped out, and Essel was next. Until Jin Woo swooped in at the last second and saved her. That's when he noticed this wasn't ordinary lightning. It paralyzed on contact. If he didn't counter it, his soldiers would vanish, and his mana would drain. Activating stealth, he surged forward at full speed, aiming to sever the dragon's wings. But Baron blocked the strike and retaliated with a devastating blow, slamming Jin Woo into the ground like a meteor. Jin Woo narrowly evaded another point-blank lightning strike. Fully aware that even plot armor wouldn't save him if it connected, he summoned Tusk, who, empowered by the Orb of Avarice, overpowered Baron's assault. Seizing the opportunity, Jin Woo delivered a clean strike, severing the wyvern's head for his growing collection. With Baron grounded, Jin Woo cracked his neck and smirked, "Took you long enough." "My neck was getting stiff from looking up, time to throw hands." Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association, President Go convened with the Drawsword Guild, led by Ryuji Goto, Asia's second strongest hunter. They expressed gratitude for his support in the mutant ant invasion. One of the assistants then laid out the plan. First, they revealed ants lived for roughly a year. Eliminate the queen and the colony would collapse naturally within that span. Ryuji then declared that 11 rank S hunters from his guild, including himself, would engage the ants head-on, drawing their focus while South Korea's hunters targeted the queen. Even the president was stunned by the sheer audacity of the plan. With everything decided, they dove into finalizing mission details. Back at Demon Castle, chaos reigned while Tusk deflected the Demon King's beams as the squad attacked like a feral pack. Iron took a blade straight to the forehead, and Egress was hurled aside. Jin Woo tried a surprise strike but was blocked and nearly had his skull crushed. Tusk seized the massive sword. Jin Woo slashed through Baron's arm and the entire squad piled on. But the fiend unleashed a devastating area attack, obliterating all shadows and draining Jin Woo's mana dry. Without a problem, he'd fought solo his entire life. Trading blows with the formidable Demon King, it was the first time Jin Woo faced someone superior. He tried to block, but his daggers flew out of reach. A brutal hit left him breathless, yet he clung to the demon's arms. Charging a cataclysmic attack, Jin Woo was on the brink, until the elven princess hurled a sword at the Demon King. It barely scratched him, but it bought just enough time for Jin Woo to lock him down with Dominator's touch, rip off Baron's arms and finish him with a meteor punch that sent the Demon King's head soaring to the moon. For the first time, Jin Woo decapitated an enemy with a punch instead of his daggers. The Demon Monarch fell, and a notification confirmed his victory. As the enemies vanished, the princess rushed to him, but Jin Woo told her to head home and inform her father that the Raidus clan now ruled hell. She burst into joyful tears, laughing as he even got her clan's name wrong. He acquires the blood of the Demon Monarch, a crucial ingredient for the elixir of life. However, he soon realizes that the success rate of crafting it hinges on his intelligence level. A wave of anxiety washes over him, yet he presses forward, ultimately succeeding in creating 6 elixirs. Though the description claims it can cure all ailments, he wonders if it holds the power to save his mother. Iron presents him with the wyvern's remains, which he promptly converts into one of his minions. When prompted by the system to name it, he christens it Kissel. Essel, thrilled by the prospect of riding it, suggests celebrating upon their return, but he disregards her entirely. Amidst this, he notices he has been rewarded with the Shadow Exchange runestone. Crushing it, he unlocks the Shadow Exchange skill, enabling him to swap positions with any of his minions. Eager to test it, he bids Essel farewell. She attempts to confess her feelings, only to realize that one of his knights has taken his place. Meanwhile, Jin Woo materializes in town, confirming that he successfully exchanged places with a patrolling knight. However, the skill requires a 3-hour cooldown. Without delay, he ascends into the sky and summons Kaisel, who swiftly carries him home. At the association, Jinchul and Go deliberate on the plan to exterminate the ants, uncertain of its success, so they prepare a fallback strategy in case of failure. Meanwhile, Beck drinks with his friend Byung Ji-yu, a retired S-rank healer. Byung Ji-yu recalls how the ants killed their comrade Yun Suk, but Beck insists he must join the raid as the threat endangers the entire nation. Assuming Beck wants to recruit him, Byung Ji-yu declines, only to learn Beck is merely bidding farewell, uncertain of his survival. Byung Ji-yu shares his intent to take the civil service exam for a normal life, though he doubts passing since history is his only strength. He believes battles should be left behind, and while Beck agrees, he affirms that hunters exist to combat magical beasts. At the hospital, Jin Woo gazes at his mother's scar, recalling how he was the cause of her burn. As he prepares to administer the elixir, doubt gnaws at him, fearing it may fail. Yet remembering the system's countless miracles, he chooses faith and gives her the elixir. A radiant light envelops her, erasing her scar, yet he fears she may never wake. He has fought tirelessly to keep her alive. A sudden gust of wind stirs, and as he opens his eyes, she is fully healed. She asks how long she has slept, and he reveals it has been 4 years, assuring her that Gina is well. Noting his wounds, she remarks on how much he has matured yet pushed himself too hard. Overwhelmed, he breaks into tears, insisting he's fine, and she thanks him for caring for her. The next day, doctors are stunned by her complete recovery. While Gina is ecstatic, Jin Woo realizes that his greatest reward is finally in his grasp. Meanwhile, Go announces that the winged ants from Jeju Island pose a national threat, prompting the association to launch another raid. This mission will enlist S-rank hunters from Japan and Korea, while lower-rank hunters handle maritime surveillance and homeland security. He declares their unwavering resolve to succeed. Byung Ji-yu watches the speech, recalling his final moments with Yun Suk before the first Jeju Island raid. Yoon-suk had insisted they were the last line of defense against the ants, while Baek vowed to crush them with his bare hands. However, Yoon-suk expressed concern over Baek's reckless nature, reminding Byung Ji-yu that only they could protect him if things went wrong. Meanwhile, Jin-woo returns home to find Gina has left a mess. Their mother suggests they clean together, and they get to work. As he tidies up, he cherishes the moment he longed for but fears his actions as a hunter may have put them in danger. His mother asks if he ever spoke to his father, recalling that he was a firefighter before becoming a hunter. She tells Jin-woo he takes after him. Gina shares her dream of becoming a doctor, but before he can respond he receives a call from the association. Jin-chul informs Go that Thomas Andre, America's S-rank National Authority hunter, has arrived. Go finds it odd as Thomas rarely intervenes in foreign operations, suspecting ulterior motives. Later, Jin-woo meets with Go, who invites him to join the raid set for 4 days ahead. Though it's a prime opportunity to grow stronger, he hesitates, considering his family. Suddenly, an overwhelming magical presence surges. Go explains that the S-rank hunters are training at the gym. Meanwhile, Baek spars with Ma from the Fame Guild and is taken down. Jin-woo observes his struggle, but Choi clarifies that he's holding back. Curious why, Jin-woo listens, as Choi explains that unleashing his full strength would turn him into a monster. The S-rank hunters from Japan arrive and immediately take notice of Jin-woo. Go-to assumes he's an assassin, but Hanawa corrects him, stating he's a mage. Hyan also senses the shift in atmosphere caused by his presence. Meanwhile, Ma continues battling Baek, but Hanawa expresses disappointment, claiming they are nowhere near Goto's level. Knight's Guildmaster Jangzo confronts her, recognizing her condescension. Other hunters step in to diffuse tensions, but Goto proposes a friendly match exclusively for S-rank hunters. Chairman Go approves but insists only combat hunters participate, as mages can't be judged by raw strength. Baek sets the rules, suggesting a format beyond simple one-on-one duels, and Goto agrees. As the combat hunters prepare, anticipation builds. How will Korea's elite fare against Japan's S-rank hunters? Jin-woo surveys the battlefield, noting that the Japanese team's leader remains idle. This grants him the chance to witness an electrifying clash between S-rank hunters. Ma unleashes an ability that amplifies his size threefold, signaling the true commencement of the battle. As the skirmish erupts, Baek intercepts an opponent attempting to flank his allies, while the association's giant engages in a thunderous brawl with the Japanese bruiser, exchanging devastating blows. Meanwhile, Lim contends with a lightning-fast adversary, striving to maintain distance to avoid a temple-cracking kick, his forte being long-range attacks. Seizing an opening, he launches a barrage of projectiles, narrowly missing the sword-wielding bruiser, compelling Hoshino to neutralize the threat before chaos escalates. Observing with unease, Choi inquires whether the arena is fortified with high-grade magic gems. Go affirms, though it appears their reinforcements are insufficient given the sheer destruction unfolding. Pursuing his opponent, Baek reflects that these hunters are Japan's elite S-ranks. Securing victory will demand nothing short of an extraordinary effort. Assuming his monstrous form, the man attacks relentlessly, yet the enemy evades each strike. Baek discerns that Atsushi Kumamoto avoids direct combat, while Kumamoto himself acknowledges his narrow escape. This battle isn't his forte. Baek glances at Goto Ruji, suspecting he's evaluating his subordinate's readiness to face the ants. Chosen for this test, Baek ascends to an even more formidable form, honored to provide the sword-wielder master's answer. Realizing imminent defeat, Kumamoto flees, but Baek's sheer speed makes escape impossible. Though unable to land a hit, Baek's relentless pursuit is observed by Park Jong-soo, who, as an A- rank, concedes he's outmatched despite his sycophantic subordinate's delusions. Meanwhile, the sword-wielding bruiser eliminates Ma, while Hoshino subdues Lim. Concluding their duel, Baek dominates his fight, yet the evasive Japanese narrowly avoids every strike. As the battle escalates, the victorious duo moves to reinforce their ally, positioning themselves before the White Tiger's leader. Cha Hae-in keeps her opponent at bay with relentless speed. After striking the Japanese woman, she realizes she must assist Baek. Mid-sprint, Kumamoto ambushes her, but she reacts instantly. Drawing blood, his eyes blaze red, exuding a monstrous aura outside the ring. Kumamoto's comrades murmur. No one knows what he's capable of at this stage. Hanawa suggests withdrawing him, but Ruji refuses, wary of upsetting the hunters. Left unchecked, Kumamoto unleashes an unimaginable ferocity, shattering the ground with a brutal punch and using the rising dust to ambush Cha Hae-in. Before the fight spirals further, Jin-woo intervenes, declaring it has long ceased being friendly. Undeterred, Kumamoto lunges at Jin-woo only to be effortlessly subdued. Witnessing the young man's prowess, Goto Ruji resolves to test whether he is truly just a mage. With the Japanese subdued, Jin-woo asks Cha Hae-in if she minds conceding, given Baek has already forfeited. She calmly accepts. Meanwhile, Baek laments that even at full strength, victory against those two was impossible. Hanawa approaches Jin-woo, relaying that Goto seeks a duel. Sensing the man's fierce battle aura, Jin-woo sees this as the perfect test of his newfound power from the demon castle. Ruji, however, grows irritated at the boy's eagerness. The interpreter confirms Jinwoo's acceptance on one condition: Goto must fight at full force. Meanwhile, a news report announces the 4th raid on Jeju Island. Noticing Johee watching, the woman asks if she's working today. Lee replies she's off, but the woman insists they shouldn't remain idle while hunters prepare for battle. Stepping onto the balcony, Johee makes a call regarding the island's defense forces. Back in the training room, Lim asks what's next. Ma reveals that the renowned S-rank will now face the sword-wielding master. Cha Hae-in recalls seeing the Jinwoo in an A- rank dungeon but doubts if he's ready for this level of combat. Beak asks if the woman minds being surrounded by hunters. She replies that one can't hold their breath forever on the battlefield. In fact, she suggests stopping the fight, and Beak agrees. Normally he'd support a duel between a fighter and a caster, but now he shares her view. If his suspicion is correct, that Jinwoo is an awakened who grows stronger, no one can predict the outcome. Jinwoo declares he's ready, and Goto instantly launches a punch, only for the Korean to dodge at the last second. Jinwoo noting he didn't even get to finish his sentence. Sensing Jinwoo's aura, the Japanese master doubts he's merely a mage. It's time to find out. With that, he attacks at full speed. Jinwoo recognizes Goto as superior to other S-ranks, yet still too slow to land a hit. Goto, enraged by his opponent's grin, intensifies his assault. Lim admits he can't track their movements, while Ma remarks that the kid must be exceptionally tough to evade those blows. However, Cha Hae-in notices Jinwoo isn't just dodging, he's analyzing his opponent's strength. After the relentless exchange, Goto steps back, displeased by his opponent's composure. Changing tactics, he engulfs his fist in flames and, moving faster than before, slashes at Jinwoo's face. Cha Hae-in watches in alarm as another strike follows, fearing for her colleague's life. But as the dust clears, Jinwoo effortlessly blocks the attack and mocks his rival, warning that pointed fingers could be dangerous. He even hints that if he had grabbed Goto's wrist instead of his hand, the fight would be over, though neither seems eager for a swift conclusion. They separate, gathering an overwhelming surge of mana. Their subordinates realize Goto is fighting seriously now. Beak fears the battle might turn lethal, yet Ruji and Jinwoo remain fixated on their duel. As their mana collides, they charge at each other, but Beak and Cha Hae-in restrain Jinwoo while the Japanese hold back Goto, preventing the fight from escalating beyond control. Finally, Beak instructs Hanawa to tell Goto to stand down. As tensions settle, Donghua quips that Jinwoo fought the mighty Goto and walked away with just a scratch. Jinwoo reflects on the risk he took but is satisfied. He has now gauged everyone's strength. More importantly, he has secretly embedded his soldiers in the shadows of 5 opponents. As the Japanese guild departs, Go Gun-hee warns Goto that he will provide intel on the hunters involved in the raid. Left alone, the association's president watches as Jinwoo approaches, inquiring about the Jeju Island mission. Meanwhile, the sword-wielding master contacts Ruji, informing him of a formidable hunter nearby. Jin Wong, recently reawakened as an S-rank. Ruji finds it odd that such a hunter isn't listed for the raid, which surprises even Goto. Likewise, Cha-hee notes to Master Choi that Jinwoo isn't joining the mission, though Choi believes the boy has his reasons. Still, something feels off. Beak then notices Banggu is also absent from the mission. Choi, however, reassures that with 15 S-rank hunters remaining, victory is certain. As night falls, Gina returns home, greeted warmly by his mother and sister, dinner prepared. Smiling, he announces his return. During the meal, he reflects on his mother's awakening after 4 years in a coma. She needs him, and that's why he won't go to Jeju Island. Meanwhile, on that very island, the Queen Ant mourns as her starving subjects devour one another. This cannot continue. She must leave, but for that she requires a superior heir, one capable of leading the colony. At that moment, a creature emerges from its egg, undergoing a mutation that alters its form, human-like in shape with 2 arms and 2 legs. The queen commands her offspring to grow stronger, and the creature releases a chilling scream, unleashing an overwhelming surge of mana. By morning, the news reports alarming developments. Flying ants are evolving at an unprecedented rate. Once landbound during the 3rd Jeju Island raid, they now exhibit humanoid features and possess wings. In the bustling city, men purchase snacks while children play as S-rank hunters. At a cafe, Yu Jin-ho urges Han Song-yi not to join the defense force, arguing that her E-rank status makes it too dangerous. Meanwhile, public speakers broadcast urgent calls for hunters to protect Korea. Elsewhere, Lee Ju-hee unexpectedly crosses paths with Song Kai-yul. As night falls, Go Gun-hee anticipates the decisive raid at dawn. When morning arrives, fleets of ships descend upon Jeju Island. Aboard one, a Knights Guild member questions if they can truly handle the ants. Park Jong-soo replies that only battle will tell, but regardless they were sent as an emergency measure. The Fame Guild arrives by helicopter and Ma Dong-wook bids farewell to the Vice Master before heading into battle. Meanwhile, Min Byung-ji-yu, as always, draws media attention, prompting Lim to demand his immediate retrieval before he stirs up trouble. Tension grips both the attack fleets and the Coastal Guard as hunters steel themselves for the coming clash. During a briefing, Gino informs the association president that all units are prepared. Go Gun-hee finds solace in the number of volunteers and is particularly relieved that a certain individual has reconsidered and joined the offensive. Just then, Beak is taken aback by Byung-gu's arrival. The two close friends exchange greetings before parting for battle. Meanwhile, at the heart of Jeju Island, elite squads Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie deploy from the air, swiftly assuming strategic positions. The association's hunters soon realize that the board has dispatched a team of cameramen to broadcast the unfolding battle to the public. Dong-wook questions the safety of the cameramen, but they assure him they are accustomed to perilous environments. Ma, meanwhile, hopes this will be the final S-rank raid on the island. Otherwise, the nation's very survival could be at stake. Beak silently concurs, believing that a hero must rise from this battle. Jinwoo informs Go that the attack team is primed, prompting the leader to declare the commencement of the 4th Jeju Island raid. Simultaneously, Go-to Ruji commands the diversionary force to unleash its full power, generating an immense surge of mana that astounds Beak from the helicopter. As the operation unfolds, swarms of ants pour from the anthill. Without hesitation, Choi moves to the aircraft's rear and obliterates the initial wave with a devastating strike. However, as countless more emerge each second, he acknowledges the need to escalate his efforts. After neutralizing the threat, he impatiently asks if it's time to land. As the helicopter touches down, Beak estimates the Japanese can hold the ants at bay for an hour, just enough time for the Koreans to eliminate the Queen. From the operations room, Ri initiates the interference signal, severing the Queen's ability to call for reinforcements. Amidst the chaos, a rival from the simulated battle warns that Kumamoto will perish if he remains frozen in fear. A Japanese woman suggests wiping out all the ants at once, while another questions Kenzo's whereabouts. Meanwhile, the brute gleefully smashes insects, treating the battle like a game. Elsewhere, a Japanese hunter spots smoke from Choi's fire and asks his comrade if he could defeat the master, despite wielding ice-based powers. With the nest entrance sealed, Choi Jong-in advances, but the labyrinth of tunnels ahead complicates their path forward. B hesitates, uncertain which path to take. Choi, unfazed, conjures a fireball to eliminate the need for cautious probing. Now their only task is to locate the tunnel descending to the deepest point, one he suspects is the correct route. Meanwhile, Jinwoo wraps up his daily training. At ease, he assumes the S-rank hunters will handle the ants effortlessly, even in his absence. Deep inside Choi's chosen tunnel, Lim Taegu speculates that the Queen may have fled, but Beak dismisses the idea. Escaping the island is impossible. Just then, Choi calls his comrades over, revealing an egg chamber, hinting at the Queen's proximity. Their eyes lock onto a massive egg, stirring unease among the team nearby. Kenzo, wounded, pleads for healing. Shimizu, the group's healer, smirks, about to demand compensation. Before she can speak, an unseen force abruptly decapitates her. Kenzo barked at Tatsumi to stay vigilant. The beast lunged again. Kenzo swung a mighty fist, but the creature was far too swift. In a blink, Kenzo's head was severed. Tatsumi, paralyzed by shock, attempted to retaliate, but before he could react, the monster decapitated him just as effortlessly. In mere moments, Team Charlie was mercilessly obliterated, their remains left in a gruesome spectacle. The scene shifts to the Korean team, now battling the Queen's royal guards. Ma Dong-wook braces his shield, halting the ants' relentless assault, then signals Hunter Cha. She soars into the air, her blade plunging deep into the ant's skull, cleaving it in two. Hunter Cha remarked on the ant guard's resilience, while Byung-yu assured the team of his support, swiftly taking down an ant. He explained that even with crushed heads, these creatures could persist for nearly 10 minutes. To ensure their demise, their limbs must also be severed. Confirming they were on the right path, Choi instructed Yeonhu to use his skill to locate the ant queen. Activating it, Yeonhu verified that the queen remained distant, heavily fortified by a swarm of guards. Brimming with confidence, they pressed forward into battle. Outside the ant nest, Team Delta advanced to investigate Team Charlie's sudden radio silence. Kay and Eep arrived at their last known position. Noticing the battlefield's remnants, Eep swiftly deduced that they had faced a horde of monstrous ants. As they navigate the area, they discover Tatsumi's shattered glasses alongside the mutilated corpse of a fallen Team Charlie member. Eep stands frozen, struggling to grasp the nightmarish scene before him. Suddenly, Kay recoils as an overwhelming putrid stench assaults his senses, triggering his gag reflex. The unfamiliar odor radiates pure terror. Panicked, Kay unleashes his ice magic, erecting a formidable ice wall for defense, but the entity effortlessly shatters it with its claws, obliterating Team Delta in an instant. Meanwhile, deep within the ant nest, they finally lay eyes on the colossal ant queen, concealed behind a swarm of soldiers. Ma Dong-wook steps forward, strategizing to engage the queen directly while Hunter Cha and the others handle the royal guards. The hunters agree and brace for battle. Choi Jong-in strikes first, Summoning a dragon of searing flames, he reveals that he typically restrains his power, but this time he is unleashing his full mana reserves without hesitation. Yanhu lunges forward, morphing into a ferocious beast. In an instant he effortlessly tears through two ants. Hunter Chaw watches in astonishment, captivated by the sheer power of Yanhu's transformation. In the broadcast booth, the news anchor urges the cameraman to move in for a clearer shot, as viewership surges by 80%. However, Byung-gyu abruptly pulls him back, warning that the battle has become too perilous. He insists the cameraman stay behind him as the situation grows increasingly dire. Nearly all of South Korea is tuned in to the live raid broadcast. The anchor announces that the hunters are now preparing to confront the Ant Queen. Amid the raid, the Korean hunters launch a relentless assault on both the regular ants and the royal guards. As the battle unfolds, the news anchor announces the defeat of the last of the Ant Queen's guards. Back at the battlefield, the hunters encircle the Ant Queen while Ma Dongwook blocks her devastating strike. Lim Tae-gyu unleashes a hail of magical arrows, striking her head and causing her to stagger. Yanhu relentlessly claws at her legs, tearing through her defenses. Enraged, the queen spews venomous liquid, hitting both Yanhu and Ma Dongwook. Without hesitation, Byung-gyu casts healing magic, instantly neutralizing the poison and restoring their strength. Grinning, Byung-gyu reassures the team of his unwavering support. The Ant Queen shifts her focus to him, but Ma Dongwook intercepts her attack with his shield. Choi seizes the moment, engulfing the queen in flames. He then prepares his ultimate attack, conjuring a massive fire spell that consumes her entire body. The Ant Queen lets out a deafening shriek, echoing across the island. As the hunters take cover behind Ma Dongwook's shield to brace for the explosion, Yanhu's eyes widen. This isn't a death cry. It's a call for reinforcements. Hunter Chaw swiftly moves, slicing through the queen's legs, causing her to collapse. Without hesitation, she leaps and delivers a decisive slash to the neck, ending the queen's life instantly. A wave of relief washes over her. At last, their mission is complete. As the news spreads, spectators erupt in celebration. Deep within the nest, Yanhu abruptly cuts into the conversation, sensing something off about the queen's final scream. However, Byung-gyu dismisses his concern, assuring him that the queen is dead and their vengeance is fulfilled. Aboard the warship, Sugimoto panics, alerting Ruji that all the ants are returning to the nest. Ruji, stunned, realizes the noise jamming has failed. Gazing upward, he watches in shock, as thousands of ants swarm back, questioning what is truly unfolding. At that moment, Choi Jong-in realizes his flame prison has been shattered. Before the hunters can react, an overwhelming aura fills the air, paralyzing them with sheer terror. From the shadows, a monstrous black ant emerges, radiating an ominous presence. This being is the Ant King, a towering muscular entity clad in obsidian-like armor, wielding razor-sharp claws and 4 translucent wings. Hunter Chaw trembles uncontrollably, collapsing to her knees, overwhelmed by the suffocating pressure and unbearable stench emanating from the creature. As the Ant King strides past, Ma Dongwook feels his entire body quake, as if his very bones are being crushed under its oppressive aura. The Ant King halts before the fallen queen, its rage barely restrained. Then in a blink it vanishes, reappearing behind Chaw. Before she can react, a devastating punch hurls her into the wall, blood spilling from her mouth. Dongwook shouts in alarm, witnessing her brutalized state, but the Ant King has already moved, now standing directly before him. With a single blow, the Ant King obliterates Dongwook's shield and severs his left arm. Desperate, he retaliates with his right, but the Ant King effortlessly seizes and crushes it. Korea's strongest tank is utterly helpless before its overwhelming might. Yanhu lunges from the side, only to be struck down within moments by a barrage of razor-sharp slashes. Choi unleashes a fiery assault, but before he can react, the Ant King closes the distance and defeats him in an instant. Lim Tae-gyu fires a volley of magic arrows, but the Ant King effortlessly catches and crushes them midair. In a blink, it appears before Lim Tae-gyu, striking with immense force and sending him flying. Just then, a powerful impact forces the Ant King backward. The unexpected attack comes from Dongwook. Smirking despite his injuries, he declares, "Tear off my arms if you want. So long as Hunter Byung-gyu is here, that won't be a problem." Byung-gyu activates his camouflage ability, erasing his presence entirely. Though it demands absolute stillness, it's the ultimate skill for a hunter healer. Dongwook lunges at the Ant King again, but the beast evades with ease. Seizing Dongwook's leg, the Ant King hurls him with monstrous force, slamming him into the ground until he loses consciousness. Then its gaze locks onto Byung-gyu. A shiver runs down his spine. Has the creature detected him despite his concealment? Yanhu shouts in alarm, but before Byung-gyu can react, razor-sharp claws impale his body. Yanhu, horrified, screams Byung-gyu's name. With his last breath, Byung-gyu urges him to flee, but the Ant King mercilessly devours his head. The hunters stand frozen, paralyzed by the gruesome sight. Consumed by fury, Yanhu charges at the Ant King, only to be effortlessly snatched and strangled. As his strength fades, he reverts to human form. Then, from within the monstrous body, he hears Byung-gyu's fading voice, urging him to escape. The Ant King sneers, deeming them feeble. Then, to their astonishment, the monster speaks. "Who is your ruler?" Yanho remains silent, perplexed by the question. Sensing an immense aura beyond the web, the Ant King swiftly takes flight, drawn to the newfound power. Seizing this rare chance, Yunho escapes its grasp. He quickly deduces the monster's intent. It's hunting Gotu Ruji. Time is of the essence. The Korean hunters must flee before the Ant King returns. However, reprieve is fleeting. A swarm of soldier ants floods the nest, cutting off their retreat. Outside the ant nest, Alpha Team scoured the area, searching for the missing Japanese squads. Ishida grew frantic, unable to reach Charlie and Delta teams. Ruji suspected signal interference and instructed Bravo Team to respond. They confirmed their status and inquired whether they should track down the missing units. Ruji dismissed the notion. No need. Complete your mission and rendezvous with Alpha Team as planned. Upon reaching the last known location of Charlie and Delta teams, they found both squads massacred, their bodies gruesomely disfigured. At that moment, Ruji received a call from Matsumoto, the chairman of the Japanese Hunter Association. Matsumoto coldly dismissed the fallen hunters, stating their primary objective was the annihilation of the South Korean team. He then ordered an immediate retreat. Following the command, Goto Ruji prepared his team to withdraw, but a sudden ambush struck. Reacting swiftly, he blocked the attack with his sword, yet to his horror, Ishida was decapitated in an instant. Recognizing the overwhelming strength of their adversary, Ruji ordered Hoshino to retreat and regroup with Bravo Team. He refused any interference. This battle was his alone. The Ant King then spoke, inquiring if Ruji was a king. Shocked that the creature could talk, Ruji raised his blade and affirmed his rule. The Ant King's response was terrifying. It unleashed an aura far surpassing Ruji's, engulfing him in a long-forgotten fear. Without hesitation, the beast lunged, shattering Ruji's sword and beheading him in a single strike. Back in the nest, the Korean team fought relentlessly, pushing toward their exit. Despite his grave injuries, Yunho urged Choi to intensify his attacks, but Choi warned he was at his limit. Their only hope was his flames to carve a path to safety. As Choi faltered and the ants closed in, a sudden blur appeared. A shadow warrior, halting the assault. Yunho, stunned, stared at the Black Knight, struck by a strange familiarity. Meanwhile, on a rooftop, Jinwoo activated Shadow Exchange.
A portion of the airborne swarm descends in a relentless assault, yet the Spectres stand resolute. Their elite champions, Iron Tusk and Aegis, wield their unparalleled prowess to ensure no adversary breaches their defenses. Amidst the chaos, Beak, who once languished in despair, now watches in astonishment as Jinwoo Sung strides toward the Shadow Soldier's battlefront. Like the leader of the White Tiger Guild, every member of the association struggles to comprehend how this unassuming youth has placed himself at the heart of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Jo-hee and Song Chul find themselves stranded without communication, left to ponder the mysteries unfolding at the storm's epicenter on Jeju Island. Woo Jinchul informs the president that any attempt at establishing contact is futile amid the turmoil. Yet the leader remains unwavering, demanding that intelligence on the hunter's whereabouts be secured by any means necessary. Within the broadcasting station, the director is inundated with demands to reinstate the live transmission of the battle. He would comply without hesitation, if only it were possible. However, the current circumstances render it unattainable. Meanwhile, his superior anxiously questions the nation's fate should all S-rank hunters succumb to defeat. Desperate for updates, the director attempts to reach the field agent overseeing the broadcast, only to discover that their equipment has malfunctioned. Amidst the turmoil, Jinwoo bellows Iron's name. Responding instantly, the Colossal Knight activates his taunt ability, drawing the enemy's attention toward himself. Seizing the moment, Jinwoo unleashes Igris, commanding him to carve through the battlefield and annihilate any insects in his path. Simultaneously, Iron and Tusk launch a devastating counteroffensive, embodying the very essence of destruction within the mutant creature's nest. The hunters stand in bewilderment, unable to comprehend the origin of these shadowy entities, or how Hunter Sung has positioned himself at the heart of the carnage. At a brief lull in combat, Jinwoo rejoins his allies, prompting Beak to seize the opportunity to question him. However, the young hunter defers the inquiry. There are more pressing matters at hand. With a healing potion in his grasp, he instructs the first wounded ally to drink, only to be abruptly reminded that the item cannot be transferred. Dongwook speculates whether it's a form of alchemical remedy or summoning magic until Jinwoo urges the wounded hunter to ingest the substance. Upon doing so, Ma is instantly enveloped in a radiant green energy, rapidly mending his grievous wounds. One by one, nearly all the injured allies partake in the potion, their conditions fully restored. Chahi, however, is the last to receive. Her dose, yet the healing elixir proves ineffective. Her health is too critically low to respond, much like the time Jinwoo himself once faced a similar affliction. To make matters worse, the Huntress's aura continues to wane, signaling that their only recourse is to carve a path for her swift evacuation. Yet the opposing forces have no intention of allowing an easy escape. With each passing moment, the insects amass in even greater numbers, obstructing every possible route. Meanwhile, President Go Gun-hee convenes with his associates to assess the strike team's status, only to be met with frustration. Something has severed all communications from the island, leaving them blind to the unfolding events. Enraged by the uncertainty, Gun-hee demands that the signal be restored by any means necessary, and that emergency medical and rescue teams be placed on high alert, ready to mobilize at a moment's notice. As he sinks into his chair, an unfamiliar fury grips him, not at the crisis itself, but at the cruel passage of time. Though he may no longer be the formidable warrior he once was, every fiber of his being longs to stand beside his comrades in battle. Yet all he can do now is wait, and hope that they survive. At Jinwoo's home, his sister resorts to an old Brazilian trick to fix the TV, giving it a firm whack. However, instead of restoring the signal, she only succeeds in breaking it further. Undeterred, she remains determined to find another way, to watch the ongoing raid. Meanwhile, in Japan, Ryoji delivers grim news to the nation's president. Goto's vital signs have disappeared. Based on the last transmission received before the signal was severed, a formidable adversary engaged. The Swordmaster, and the likelihood of his demise is all but certain. Confronted with this devastating development, President Matsumoto demands updates on the remaining guild members, knowing that any additional losses could jeopardize the next phase of their strategy. After ending the call, the supreme leader of Japan slams his fist against the table, seething with frustration. Deep within the insect nest, iron annihilates hundreds of foes with sheer, overwhelming might. Jinwoo assesses the battlefield, noting that while his elite units hold their ground, the standard shadow soldiers struggle against the relentless swarm. He considers expanding his army, but with too many eyes watching, discretion takes priority. Seeking an alternative, the hunter calls upon his allies, instructing them to remain behind Tusk and secure the rear, intercepting any ant that slips through. Above all, he urges them to keep what they are about to witness an absolute secret. Master Choi, sensing something extraordinary, watches intently. A strange luminescence flickers in Jinwoo Sung's eyes, just as the insects unexpectedly part, though not due to the Korean's efforts. From the depths of the cavern, the evolved insect's ominous silhouette emerges, wreathed in a malevolent crimson aura, an unspoken declaration that Goto has perished at its hands. Seething with fury, the creature radiates an overwhelming surge of mana, lamenting that the true king was not there to face it. Jinwoo deduces that this monstrous being is the reason he can no longer sense the shadow he had placed on Goto. Stepping forward, he positions himself prominently, prompting the superior insect to question whether this could be the so-called king of humans. With a biting sense of irony, Jinwoo remarks on the peculiarity of conversing with a talking insect, while the creature, in turn, senses the formidable aura emanating from its adversary. Letting out an unearthly shriek, it sends waves of terror through the gathered hunters. Yet Jinwoo remains unfazed, still regarding his opponent as nothing more than a mere insect. Amidst this tense exchange, the broadcast team suddenly regains the signal. The operator wastes no time in alerting headquarters, prompting the director to order an immediate resumption of the live feed. However, he is quickly warned. If they proceed, it will be broadcast in real time, with no opportunity to censor or mitigate whatever unfolds. Nevertheless, the director refuses to squander another second of viewership, and orders the broadcast to resume immediately. The fate of the nation hinges on the man facing the monstrous insect, and the people must witness what unfolds. As the transmission is restored, Joji, Shiu, the Knights Guild, the support teams, and the entire nation eagerly tune in, their eyes fixed on the unfolding battle within the mutant insect nest on Jeju Island. Jinwoo had assured he would return shortly before departing, yet Gina couldn't shake the feeling that he had ventured far beyond what he had implied. Meanwhile, Gun-hee exults at Hunter Sung's timely arrival at the mission's critical juncture. Regardless of how he reached the island, one thing remains certain. Their last hope now rests on him. With all of Korea watching, the duel commences on a brutal note. The Korean hunter takes a devastating blow to the face, the sheer force of impact rupturing the ground beneath him. Beak and Choi speculate that Jinwoo miscalculated by closing the distance, an unwise move for a mage-type fighter. Meanwhile, the insect begins to doubt whether Sung is truly the king. However, the young hunter emerges unscathed and retaliates, ensnaring his foe in a radiant blue aura before delivering a punishing blow. Ma questions if Sung is even a mage, but by now, Beak and Choi are too bewildered to form an answer. The insect endures the strike with remarkable resilience, prompting Jinwoo to wonder if its exoskeleton is the source of such formidable durability. As the creature regains its footing, Jinwoo refuses to relent, maintaining relentless pressure. Yet his adversary matches his intensity, escalating the battle into a harrowing duel. The broadcaster, despite being rank A, struggles to remain upright, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the magical energy surging through the battlefield, teetering on the brink of unconsciousness. Meanwhile, the superior insect, once convinced of its own invulnerability, gradually perceives a shift in the tide of battle. Though it matches the intensity of the fight and exhibits formidable strength, an unsettling realization creeps in. This human possesses an ability beyond comprehension, forcing the creature into a rare state of trepidation. A sudden, crushing blow lands squarely on the insect's face, prompting its long, razor-sharp tongue to lash out, slashing across Jinwoo's cheek. Instantly, an insidious infection spreads through his body, compelling him to his knees in the heat of combat. Bewildered, he struggles to grasp the affliction overtaking him, only for the creature to gloat, boasting that the toxin is a concoction of marine venoms amplified by an immense reservoir of magical power. Paralyzed, Jinwoo finds himself utterly immobilized. Seizing the moment, the adversary prepares to strike the finishing blow. Meanwhile, President Matsumoto chuckles nervously upon receiving the grim update. 7 out of the 10 Japanese hunters deployed to Jeju Island have perished. His expression quickly contorts into fury as he bellows in outrage over the humiliation of losing more than half their elite force. To worsen matters, Rigi reports the detection of an immensely powerful entity near the island's caldera, likely the same creature responsible for Gotorugi's demise. However, whether it is retreating due to injury or returning for another reason remains unknown. Matsumoto contemplates the implications. If the Koreans have survived, they are undoubtedly locked in battle with this formidable adversary. A sinister opportunity presents itself. Amidst the chaos, with all parties weakened, eliminating the strongest will ensure the rest stand no chance. With this strategy in mind, Matsumoto commands an immediate extraction of the remaining survivors, instructing that they be airlifted to the second attack team stationed at sea. Upon receiving the directive, a surviving member of the sword-wielding unit informs her comrades that they have been transitioned to Plan 9. However, Hashino, still haunted by the gruesome demise of Goto, issues a dire warning. Nothing they attempt will stand against that monstrosity. Frustrated, his companion seizes him by the collar, demanding he regain composure, yet the shaken hunter remains paralyzed by fear. The woman reminds him starkly that retreat is not an option. Moments later, the rescue helicopter nears their position. Within the nest, to everyone's astonishment, Jinwoo reacts with impeccable timing, delivering a forceful blow to his opponent's abdomen and slamming him against the cavern wall. Given the poison coursing through his system, Choi questions how he managed to move, while Beak concedes that nothing about Jinwoo surprises him anymore. The young hunter, however, quickly deduces that the creature had been holding back, relying on its venom as a trump card. As his detoxification ability works to cleanse his body, Jinwoo's heightened perception allows him to detect the insect's growing unease. Yet, a glance at Chae-hee reminds him that time is of the essence. He must get her out of danger immediately. With that in mind, he launches a swift kick at his foe, only for the insect to evade with ease. Realizing its venom has failed, the monster triggers a mysterious reaction within itself, unleashing a surge of newfound power. Undaunted, Jinwoo brandishes the twin demonic monarch daggers, reigniting the clash with an unprecedented level of ferocity. If tracking their speed and raw power was difficult before, the battle now escalates to a staggering degree, threefold in both intensity and peril, as both combatants raise the stakes, each driven by an unrelenting need for victory. Jinwoo must rescue Chae-hee before it's too late, while the monstrous insect is desperate to prove itself against the so-called king of humans. Deploying tactics beyond human comprehension, the creature conjures jagged ice spears that erupt from the ground before launching toward its foe like lethal projectiles. Though Jinwoo evades, the sheer force of the frozen shards colliding with the cavern ceiling triggers a partial collapse, further amplifying the battle's danger. Inevitably, the insect comes to a grim realization. The human's speed rivals its own. Yet, what's even more alarming is that Jinwoo appears to be accelerating with each passing moment. As blue and red auras collide in a dazzling spectacle of clashing energies, Baek Yunho's eyes widen in disbelief. Without question, the White, Tiger Guild's master, despite his long tenure as an S-rank hunter, has never witnessed a battle of such sheer insanity. Time fractures into fleeting instants, each movement weaving into an unintentional yet mesmerizing choreography of destruction. Jinwoo roars in fury as his strike lands with brute force, yet the insect retaliates with inhuman swiftness, its counterattack as monstrous as its resilience. In Mao, that split second, Jinwoo catches sight of the creature's claws, razor-sharp like 4 gleaming daggers, hurtling straight toward his eyes. Amidst the chaos, Jinwoo's fatal strike ability undergoes an unforeseen evolution, ascending to mutation through the rigors of this relentless battle. This spontaneous enhancement grants the hunter an immediate edge, empowering him to retaliate with his infernal daggers, severing chunks from the mutant ant's arm, its viscous green ichor spilling from the ruptured exoskeleton. Seizing the momentum, Jinwoo escalates his assault, carving deeper into the creature, with merciless precision. In a desperate bid for survival, the insect harnesses its regenerative prowess, reconstructing its ravaged form while erecting an ice barrier to distance itself from the relentless onslaught. At that moment, all semblance of pride vanishes. The once arrogant monstrosity abandons bravado and flees, unbothered by the disgrace of cowardice. Jinwoo Sung remains undeterred, closing the distance with terrifying swiftness before delivering a devastating aerial strike, hammering the insect into the earth. Without hesitation, he repeats the dismemberment relentlessly, ensuring that his foe is reduced to nothing more than a fragmented ruin. True to his word, the monster is mercilessly grounded, stripped of its wings and limbs, its fractured mind, struggling to comprehend the sheer power of this so-called human. In a desperate gasp for survival, it unleashes a chaotic surge of energy, reigniting the crimson glow in the eyes of the nest's horde. Yet, amidst the ominous spectacle, Jinwoo merely smirks, unfazed. With a mere gesture, he commands his shadow army to meet the oncoming swarm in battle. Amidst the ongoing onslaught, the battlefield is further ignited by the arrival of Tank, the formidable ice bear leader, and Kaisel, the fearsome wyvern of Baron, ensuring the conflict reaches an even greater crescendo of devastation. Meanwhile, Tusk, his voice resonating with infernal hymns, cleaves through the nest's walls with effortless precision, his fiery incantations searing through the structure as if it were nothing more than parchment. The superior insect, once convinced of its innate supremacy, now stands paralyzed by a bitter revelation, the undeniable truth that it is not the strongest, and that truth bears a name, Jinwoo Sung. As the hunter looms over it once more, a singular instinct seizes the monster's mind: escape, at any cost. After regenerating yet again, the mutant ant takes to the air, only to be mercilessly swatted down by Jinwoo's radiant blue aura. Weakened beyond measure, yet still clinging to existence, the creature refuses to surrender to its fate. Like a persistent roach, it scrambles away on its legs, but Jinwoo, unwilling to entertain its delusions of escape, unleashes mutation once more, a brutal lesson in the consequences of defying the inevitable. As the onslaught concludes, the system confirms his victory, signaling that he has leveled up. Bearing witness to the utter annihilation of their strongest kin, the remaining ants swiftly reconsider their options, choosing self-preservation over certain destruction. Jinwoo dashes to Chahi's side, his sharp perception instantly recognizing that her aura is flickering, teetering on the brink of extinction. Time and precision are now his only allies. Choi urgently states that a helicopter awaits outside, but Jinwoo knows the harsh truth. They don't have that luxury. With no other recourse, he administers the elixir of life, the same miraculous potion that once rescued his mother from an incurable slumber. Yet, despite its legendary potency, the remedy fails. Chahi's condition lies beyond its reach. A heavy silence falls. With no solution left, they are forced to brace for the inevitable, Chahi's final breath.
Jinwoo stuns the broadcaster by demanding the camera be turned off, warning that he will destroy it if necessary. Meanwhile, Baek inquires about Byung, whose lifeless body bears a gaping wound in his chest. Without hesitation, Jin Woo employs shadow extraction, transforming the fallen hunter into one of his elite shadow warriors. On the naval vessels encircling Jeju Island, Hoshino is incensed upon learning that the president has initiated Plan 9. The monster remains at large, yet the Japanese forces are being sent back to confront the very creature that eliminated Goto in mere seconds. Ryuji, however, informs him that a Korean hunter has already vanquished the mutant ant, leaving Hoshino with no choice but to return to the battlefield. Jin Woo astounds his comrades as he unveils his power to wield the abilities of the departed. He discloses that he heard Min Byung-gu's voice, granting permission to use his strength as proof. The resurrected healer, now a shadow warrior, opens a grimoire and conjures a restorative rain, mending Cha Hae-in's wounds. This act offers Jin Woo insight into Byung-gu's nature. Without command, he instinctively prioritizes healing the injured. Despite the grim circumstances, Baek finds solace in knowing his friend's abilities will be invaluable, yet he recalls how Byung-ji despised battle and laments seeing him drawn back into warfare, even in death. As he voices this sentiment, Jin Woo is reminded of the Red Gate incident. That day, Baek gripped his shoulder in a similar manner, but this time, rather than issuing an order, he is making a heartfelt plea. Jin Woo reassures Baek, revealing he had already made his decision. With a mere gesture, he releases Min Byung-ji from the pact, dissolving him into nothingness, yet before vanishing, the healer offers a final smile to his longtime friend, who, unable to hold back his emotions, shed silent tears in farewell. Meanwhile, President Matsumoto erupts in fury upon learning the Koreans have survived, particularly due to the unforeseen arrival of Jin Woo-sung. With Japan having suffered severe losses, Ryuji challenges the wisdom of persisting with Plan 9. Further casualties would cripple Japan's portal defenses and disrupt the global power equilibrium. Forced to reconsider, Matsumoto grudgingly orders an immediate retreat. After the call, he slams his phone to the ground, his frustration boiling over. At sea, the Korean forces encircling Jeju Island are ambushed by a frenzied swarm of ants. They had assumed the battle ended with the Queen's demise, yet the leaderless horde now rampages uncontrollably. The rear guard's role becomes critical. Failure would mean the insects reaching Korea. The weight of this responsibility is evident in every hunter's tense gaze. Within the nest, the Koreans race toward a helicopter arriving for extraction. However, with the swarm's chaotic resurgence and looming disaster, Choi makes a swift decision, ordering the aircraft to take off immediately, leaving Jin Woo behind. He alone can handle the remaining threats, while Cha Hae-in's dire condition demands urgent medical attention. Jin Woo remains behind with his specters, methodically eradicating the unhatched ant eggs. To his delight, each destruction yields experience points, allowing him to test the formidable power of the demon monarch's sword. Effortlessly cutting down the remaining insects, he laments not utilizing the weapon sooner. However, he entrusts the rest to his elite specters, who sustain the assault until their efforts propel him to level 100. Approaching the fallen elite ant, Jin Woo senses an extraordinary aura lingering around its corpse. Instinctively, he activates shadow extraction, only to experience an inexplicable moment of disorientation. An ephemeral glimpse into what feels like an astral plane. Snapping back to reality, he witnesses a spectral egg materializing in the sky, birthing the shadow of the formidable adversary he had fought so fiercely to vanquish. Satisfied with the outcome, he proceeds forward, only to be halted as the resurrected creature addresses him as the human king. Perplexed, Jin Woo notes this is the first shadow capable of speech. Kneeling, the entity requests a name. As he examines its interface, he realizes it is a Spectre rank general, an unprecedented class. Curious, Jin Woo questions its willingness to obey despite having perished by his hand. The insect responds with unwavering devotion, declaring that it did not die but was reborn through Jin Woo's power, overflowing with newfound purpose. Swearing eternal allegiance, it awaits his command, acknowledging its loyalty. Jin Woo bestows the name Biru upon his latest subordinate before proceeding to enlist the remaining defeated ants. A vast swarm breaches the Korean naval blockade, advancing onto national soil and reaching the final military line before civilians are endangered. As expected, a brutal battle erupts, with hunters laying down their lives to shield the population from catastrophe. Meanwhile, along the shores of Jeju Island, where the remaining ants wage war, Beru observes the disoriented horde of 4,000 insects scattering chaotically without a leader. Jin Woo inquires whether his servant can call their numbers. Without hesitation, the evolved insect embarks on its mission. Within the first Korean city overrun by the swarm, Song Kai-Yul commands his hunters with unwavering resolve, directing them on how to combat the relentless foes. Suddenly, a high-speed airborne ant hurtles toward him, only to be obliterated in an instant. Before the hunters can process what happened, a brilliant light carves through the battlefield like a blade, slicing through an unthinkable number of enemies. Unbeknownst to them, Beru has joined the fray. Meanwhile, the elite team attempting to escape the nest faces overwhelming odds in the sky. Their helicopter, besieged by flying ants, risks being torn apart, With limited means to fight back, the group watches helplessly as their magical shield crumbles, leaving them vulnerable to imminent death. Just as all seems lost, Jin Woo arrives atop Kaisel, once again turning the tide and saving his comrades from certain doom. As if heralding triumph, the sky finally clears, casting radiant beams over the battlefield. Observing the aftermath, Hunters Association President Go Geun-hee reflects on the immense struggle. The hunters of the continent, through sheer determination, held the swarm at bay, and the S-ranked hunters have safely returned to Korea. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in, unconscious throughout the ordeal, is rushed to the hospital. The battle claimed many lives, but the fourth raid on Jeju Island concludes in victory, sealing the monstrous threat once and for all. Days later, aboard a Japanese fleet, chaos ensues as a swarm of flying ants launches a relentless second-day assault. An officer commands the mage-type hunters to stand by, but another suggests allowing Japan's hero to have his moment. Perched atop the naval artillery, a lone figure eyes the encroaching horde with amusement, vowing to turn them into fish food. Unleashing an X-shaped slash brimming with mana, his twin blades carve through the enemy, detonating them midair as if a fleet-wide bombardment had struck. With a smirk, he muses that had the true monster faced him instead of its lesser kin, the battle might have offered some entertainment. Back in Korea, a solemn memorial stands in tribute to those lost in the Jeju Island raid, drawing a crowd to pay their respects. As media cameras capture Sung Jin Woo's arrival, the truth is undeniable: this victory hinged on him. Yet, scrutiny lingers. While many revere him as a hero, others question how many lives could have been spared had he intervened sooner. Even Baek Yeon-ho, despite mourning his fallen friend, approaches and urges him to stand tall. For regardless of doubt or debate, one truth remains: Jin Woo was the keystone of this war. Jin Woo meets with Go Geun-hee, who expresses profound gratitude for his indispensable role in the raid. However, Jin Woo, burdened by guilt, laments his late arrival, regretting the lives lost, especially Min Byung-gu's. The association's director reassures him, emphasizing that without his intervention, the other S-rank hunters and countless citizens would have perished. This victory is monumental, and Go Geun-hee offers to reward him in any way he desires. Shifting the conversation, the director asks about Jin Woo's future plans, noting that his extraordinary display of power has propelled him onto the global stage, attracting international attention. Without hesitation, Jin Woo reveals his intent: to establish his own guild. Meanwhile, back on Jeju Island, the leader of the Knights Guild, Park Jong-soo, finds himself confronted by his subordinate, Sok Chul, who questions why he was assigned to clean up the nest instead of attending the memorial. Exhausted yet resolute, Jong-soo explains that eliminating the remaining insects and collecting resources is just as crucial. In fact, this mission signifies the association's trust in him. True men fulfill their duties without complaint. Amidst their task, an imposing beast-like figure suddenly emerges before the Knights Guild. Jong-soo warns him to leave the restricted area. But before anyone can react, a spectral hand snaps its fingers, instantly incapacitating the hunters. The beast-like intruder questions the specter's actions, only to receive an indifferent reply: it was simply silencing the noise. Upon detecting an unfamiliar power at the site, the duo contemplates how this anomaly aided the humans. Regardless, they must confront this force directly. With no further reason to linger, the specter conjures a portal to depart. However, the beast-like figure notes an individual still present, prompting the specter to withdraw, leaving the matter to this entity. As the impending hunt will proceed as planned, as his companion vanishes, the beastman hesitates before entering his own portal, sighing at the unnecessary exertion. He muses that if a certain woman were present, the chaos would be immeasurable. Meanwhile, Jin Woo's father silently observes their cryptic exchange. Back in Korea, Jin Woo finds himself trapped in traffic while conversing with Yoo Jin-ho over the phone. Excitedly, Jin-ho inquires about their guild, and Jin Woo confirms that President Go Geun-hee has approved the plan. Overjoyed, Jin-ho immediately suggests securing an office, only for Han Song-yi to interrupt the call, demanding a position in Jin Woo's future organization. Amused by their bickering, he ends the call as their playful argument escalates. Just then, Go Geun-hee contacts Jin Woo, informing him of a newly emerged B-rank portal ahead, responsible for the congestion. Hunters have been dispatched, but traffic will remain stagnant for some time. Assessing the situation, Jin Woo requests a favor. Moments later, he arrives at the barricaded portal where authorities have secured the perimeter. Declaring his intent to close the dungeon, he steps forward. A young officer hesitantly reminds him that reinforcements have yet to arrive, but Jin Woo remains unfazed. He will handle it alone. Without hesitation, Jin Woo steps into the portal unaccompanied. Almost instantly, its hue shifts to a menacing crimson. Inside, he finds himself amidst a storm-ravaged forest, confirming his suspicion. It's a red portal. Irritated, he mutters about the unpredictable scale of the dungeon and regrets not informing his mother of his delay. Sensing multiple adversaries lurking within, he quickly assesses their strength. they appear unimpressive. If these creatures are the only threat, this task will be effortless. To expedite matters, Jin Woo summons his spectral army, deploying his elite warriors, including his latest acquisition, the formidable mutant insect, Beru. With his forces assembled, he resolves to eliminate this minor obstacle swiftly. Meanwhile, having fully recovered, Cha Hayan gazes upon the horizon as the sun sets, lost in contemplation. Master Choi approaches, mentioning Jin Woo's presence at the memorial. She, however, remains deep in thought, acknowledging how the raid exposed her inadequacies. She contributed little and ultimately had to be rescued. Unlike Jin Woo, to her he embodies the pinnacle of strength, an ideal to pursue. More than anything, she longs to grow strong enough to stand beside him. As Jin Woo commands his army against the creatures within the B-rank red portal, he contemplates the essence of a hunter's existence. Dungeons are realms where survival is the only law, and at any moment the hunter can become the hunted, death always a mere step away. Yet hunters press forward, undeterred by the strength of their adversaries. Each fights for a reason. Some to protect their loved ones, others to uphold their ideals, prove their worth, or defy fate itself. Regardless of their purpose, a true hunter never ceases the hunt. With the last of the monsters eradicated, Jin Woo strides past the endless ranks of his spectral army. Loosening his tie, he exhales, then declares, "It's time to seek the next prey."